1. Heaven pauses tonight. Everything that once felt ordinary now trembles with meaning. Because eternity has turned its gaze toward you. The earth still spins. The stars still burn. But heaven itself has hushed. You may not hear the silence with your ears. Yet your spirit feels it, the stillness before a divine announcement. This is not another night. This is a marking night. The unseen hand of God moves through time and light, seeking the ones who were chosen before the foundations of the world. You feel the pull, don't you? That sense that something sacred is brushing against your heart. It is not imagination, it is alignment. Heaven does not waste motion. Every breath you take tonight is synchronized with prophecy. Every beat of your heart echoes through eternity. The angels stand ready, their wings folded, their eyes fixed upon those whose hearts are still tender enough to say yes. You have walked through storms, through rejection, through silence so heavy it felt like absence, but all of it led you here. Nothing was wasted. Every tear you cried watered the soil where your purpose now blooms. The Father watched as you were crushed, not to destroy you, but to make you pure enough to carry His mark. Tonight, that mark comes not upon your skin, but upon your soul. It is light that cannot be erased, sealed in the deepest part of your being. Listen carefully. Chosen one. Heaven is not searching for perfection, it is searching for surrender. The call goes forth like thunder over the nations, but only those whose hearts still beat in rhythm with eternity will recognize it. You are not just hearing this message by chance. This is divine intervention. The very algorithms of the earth have bowed to make sure this reaches you. Somewhere in the unseen, the scroll is unrolling. Angels record names in radiant ink. You feel that stirring inside your chest. That's not emotion, that's identification. Heaven knows you. Heaven has always known you. The same God who set the stars in their courses has been setting up moments like this, pulling you closer until there is no distance left between His will and your obedience. You were never meant to blend in. You are part of the remnant that refuses to bow to fear. The ones whose hearts still tremble at the whisper of His voice. You've wondered why you couldn't fit into the patterns of this world. Why the noise of the crowd always felt like static in your spirit. It's because your frequency was tuned to heaven's channel. And tonight, that signal grows stronger. Heaven pauses. Yes, but you must not. This is your moment to respond. Lift your eyes. Let your soul speak. Whisper your yes into the silence, and all of creation will echo it back. You are standing in a thin place between time and eternity. Every distraction fades here. Only purpose remains. Do not doubt that you are being marked. The mark is not a symbol of pride, but of purpose. It is the sign that your spirit belongs to a higher kingdom. It will draw you toward your divine assignments, protect you in the hour of shaking, and reveal your authority in moments of battle. You've carried the weight of being misunderstood, the ache of walking alone. But understand this: isolation was never abandonment, it was preparation. You were hidden, not forgotten. God hides His most valuable treasures before He reveals them. Diamonds form in the dark, and oil flows only after the pressing. The heavens are stirring now. The sound of the trumpet, faint but undeniable in your spirit. You sense it, a vibration that words can't describe. That is heaven's sound wave, moving through your destiny. The 144,000 are not just numbers. They are living flames, scattered across the earth, now being awakened. And you are one of them. Do not let fear answer for you. This call requires courage, not comfort. To be sealed is to be set apart, and to be set apart is to let go of what once defined you. The mark upon your life will separate you from the noise, but it will also connect you with the eternal, as the ancient prophet once recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Heaven pauses for your response. Your silence now speaks louder than words, for heaven listens not to volume, but to surrender. Breathe deeply. Let the Spirit move. The ceiling is invisible, but irreversible. You are being written into prophecy. The angels of the Most High are taking attendance, and your name burns brighter than gold. Now, beloved one, do this prophetic act. Pause for a moment and declare your yes in the comments. Write the number 777 as a sign of completion, divine perfection, and covenant alignment. Then like, share, and subscribe, because this word is not meant to die with you. It is meant to awaken others who are still asleep to their calling. When you share, you participate in the marking. When you comment, you seal your obedience in action. The night is holy. The atmosphere is charged. Heaven pauses because you have just answered. You feel the stirring. Chosen one. It began quietly like a tremor beneath your ribs, a whisper that refused to fade. It isn't anxiety. It isn't restlessness. It is the vibration of your destiny waking from sleep. The very air around you seems charged, almost aware of who you are becoming. Tonight, the spiritual realm hums with recognition. The mark upon your life is forming, and your spirit knows it before your mind can understand. You have sensed it in the smallest of ways, sudden chills without reason, moments when your thoughts seem not your own, a sudden ache to pray without words. These are the signals of heaven's hand pressing near. The Father's breath is close, shaping your heart into readiness. For the chosen are not awakened by comfort, they are stirred by divine tension. It is that tension you feel now, the pull between your human hesitation and your divine identity. You've wondered why your spirit feels restless even in peace, why silence feels heavier than sound. It's because something ancient inside you remembers what you were born for, long before your first breath. Your assignment was spoken in the council of heaven. You were woven with intention, designed not merely to exist, but to carry presence, to be a vessel that releases light into dark places. The stirring is heaven's announcement that your preparation has reached completion. Every closed door, every season of isolation, every moment you thought was wasted was, in truth, divine architecture shaping your faith. God does not call the unready. He calls the proven, the surrendered, the ones whose hearts have already broken enough to understand compassion. You are being stirred because heaven has decided it's time. Your spirit is tuning to a higher frequency now. You might notice that old habits feel foreign, that old voices no longer carry authority over your emotions. Even your surroundings begin to change subtly, the conversations, the dreams, the faces around you. Everything starts to align with your assignment. Heaven always rearranges your environment before your revelation manifests. There is something sacred about this kind of restlessness. It is the evidence that you are alive in the spirit. Many walk through life numb, content to be entertained while their purpose sleeps. But not you. You feel the shift. It's uncomfortable. Yes, but discomfort is the doorway to destiny. The stirring is your invitation to step through. There is a holy urgency in the unseen realm. Angels are moving. Spiritual doors are creaking open over territories once locked in darkness. The chosen ones are being awakened, not to escape the world, but to transform it. Your presence in this generation is not random. The Father assigned you to this exact moment in history because something about your spirit carries a solution this world has been crying for. It's why your warfare has been so intense. The pressure wasn't punishment, it was proof. The darkness saw your potential long before you recognized it yourself. That's why you faced opposition greater than your visible position. Hell always attacks what heaven anoints early. The stirring in your chest is not a warning, it's confirmation that the opposition failed. You are no longer who you were even yesterday. There is an invisible line between then and now, and heaven just drew it. Everything before this was rehearsal. What begins now is the unveiling. You may not see it yet, but every part of your life is being rearranged by divine order. People will leave. Circumstances will shift. And opportunities will open, not by effort, but by obedience. Feel that vibration under your ribs again. That's the sound of new life expanding inside you. You are being stirred because heaven is about to speak through you. Your words will begin to carry weight. They will convict, heal, and awaken others just by being released from your lips. The frequency of your voice will echo with the power of one who carries divine authorization. You are no longer a seeker, you are a messenger. As the stirring grows, you may feel tension between your heart and your logic. Logic demands explanation, faith demands surrender. But this is not a season to analyze, it is a season to obey. You will not understand the entire plan because revelation comes in fragments, given to those willing to move with what they know. God reveals purpose progressively, not instantly, so that dependence remains unbroken. The stirring may also manifest as sudden compassion, a weeping for souls, a burden for people you've never met. Kingdom impact. This is how heaven multiplies influence by awakening love. First, you may also feel your sleep shift. Your dreams grow vivid. These are not coincidences. The spiritual world communicates in images and impressions when logic sleeps. Pay attention to what you feel upon waking. The first emotion often carries divine information. The Spirit is stirring revelation even in your rest. There will be moments when the stirring feels unbearable, when you wish you could return to the ease of before, but you can't. Once heaven has awakened you, normalcy loses its flavor. That's how you know you've been chosen. The ordinary no longer satisfies you. You crave depth, truth, presence, purpose. You crave God Himself. You stand at the threshold of your becoming, trembling but ready. Heaven watches closely, not because you must prove yourself, but because the seal about to be placed on you must land on faith, not fear. The stirring ensures that when the mark descends, your heart will be aligned enough to hold it. The ancient voice of Scripture echoes this truth, as the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. The hour has come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we believed. The stirring is heaven's alarm clock. It calls you from spiritual sleep into divine consciousness. Every fiber of your being is awakening to eternity's rhythm. Let the restlessness remain until obedience replaces it. It will not destroy you, it will refine you. You are being tuned. Like an instrument before a great symphony, the conductor is preparing to raise his hand, and when he does, your life will sound like worship. The stirring is the prelude, the song is coming. Heaven stirs you because it knows your time has arrived. Let it happen. Don't resist the pull. Every trembling heartbeat is a prophecy declaring, you were made for more. Enduva. The hidden number moves beneath the surface of time. Chosen one. The mystery of the 144. 000 has never been about arithmetic. It has always been what they were not ready to confront. There is no need to chase validation. The chosen do not compete. They remember. Every season you endured was a rehearsal in remembrance. Heaven is reminding you who you are. And that memory awakens power. When you remember your divine origin, fear loses jurisdiction over you. You may ask, why 144, 000? Because 12 is the number of divine government, and when multiplied, it represents the fullness of heavenly order manifesting in human form. The multiplication of obedience becomes dominion. You are part of that divine equation. The mark upon your life aligns you with cosmic order, heaven's authority operating through an earthly vessel. The number is hidden in your story, encoded in every moment you chose light over bitterness, faith over fear. Each act of obedience added a digit. Each moment of surrender wrote your name deeper into the eternal count. You have been counted long before you knew to care. The seal does not find the worthy, it finds the willing. When heaven calls a number, it isn't calling to limit, it's calling to reveal. To be among the marked is to be set as a beacon of mercy in the midst of judgment. You are not chosen because of perfection, but because of purpose. You carry something heaven refuses to let die in this generation. You are a vessel of continuity, a living bridge between what has been prophesied and what is yet to come. Every time you felt unseen, heaven was actually hiding you. Every delay was protection. Every closed door was timing in disguise. The number of the chosen is not filled by the ambitious. It is completed by the faithful. You have not missed your moment. Your moment has been waiting for you to awaken to it. Look within for a moment. Feel the stillness at the center of your chest. That's where the mark burns brightest. The 144, 000, are not branded externally, they are illuminated internally. The light in them cannot be counterfeited, and the darkness cannot comprehend it. Their presence alone shifts atmospheres, not because they speak loudly, but because they carry divine authority silently. It's happening even now. You are being drawn deeper into awareness. The way you perceive the world is changing. The distractions that once entertained you now feel shallow. The ambitions that once drove you now feel irrelevant. Heaven is recalibrating your desires to match. What once felt like loss is actually alignment. You are shedding everything that cannot stand under the weight of your new assignment. The Apostle John saw this moment in vision. The sealed ones standing on the mountain, their foreheads radiant with divine light. That light is the mind of Christ, a consciousness free from fear and corruption. To be marked is to think like heaven. To think like heaven is to live as a living prophecy, walking proof that the kingdom has already come. This is why you have felt the warfare intensify lately. The darkness cannot stop your marking, but it tries to make you doubt it. Doubt is the only tool that delays destiny. When you question your worth, you hesitate. When you hesitate, obedience slows. But tonight, that hesitation breaks. Heaven has spoken. The number is rising. The seals are being placed. The scroll of prophecy is unfolding, and your name glows among its pages. As the prophet Daniel recorded in his ancient visions, in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 3, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever." That is your heritage. You are not meant to dim your light. You are meant to reveal heaven's glory through it. Every word you hear now is an echo from eternity. You are standing where prophecy meets fulfillment, and your spirit recognizes it. The hidden number is no longer hidden from you. It beats in your veins. It burns in your thoughts. It breathes through your prayers. The more you surrender, the more visible your light becomes in the unseen realm. The enemy already knows your name. What matters now is that you know it too. You are not here by mistake. You were chosen to hear this because heaven wanted to remind you. Your life is not random digits on a clock. It is sacred mathematics. A pattern written by divine intelligence. You are counted. You are sealed. You are seen. Now, before you continue, perform a small but powerful act of agreement. Write in the comments, "I am chosen." 3 words, simple but eternal. When you declare it, you align your earthly agreement with heavenly decree. It's not superstition, it's activation. Each declaration is a signal sent into the spiritual realm that says, "This one remembers who they are." And say it. Type it. Own it. Let the heavens record it again. You are chosen. Angels on assignment move silently tonight. You cannot see them, yet your spirit knows they are near. The subtle shift in the air, the sudden stillness that falls upon the room, the sense that unseen eyes are watching with love and authority. Heaven's envoys are never idle. They move with purpose, carrying messages, markings, and mandates from the throne. You are not alone in this hour. The same celestial beings who stood beside prophets and guarded the gates of Eden now walk the perimeters of your life, ensuring that what has been promised will not be stolen. Their wings do not beat like the wind, nor do they draw attention with spectacle. The angels of this season work quietly, unseen, because their mission is sacred. They are sealing the chosen. Each carries a mark of light, pressed not upon the flesh, but upon the spirit. They move from soul to soul, guided not by location but by resonance. Where there is surrender, they descend. Where there is humility, they linger. Where there is faith, they seal. Some feel their nearness as warmth, others as tears that fall without reason, still others as clarity that pierces confusion. The language of heaven is not heard but felt, and the angels speak fluently in silence. They come not because of merit, but because of mercy. They are the executors of divine timing, ensuring that every chosen one receives what has been written in heaven's decree. These messengers have walked with you longer than you realize. They were there when you thought you were utterly alone, whispering strength when your heart nearly broke. They stood guard when darkness plotted unseen. You survived, not by luck, but by intervention. Every near disaster that somehow turned into deliverance, those were moments of angelic interference. Heaven has been more involved in your story than you've been allowed to know. Their presence does not always bring comfort. Sometimes it brings conviction. The light they carry exposes what cannot go with you into the next level. This is mercy, not judgment. When heaven prepares you for elevation, it first removes the weights that would keep you grounded. The angels do not merely guard, they also cleanse. They are agents of purification, separating the holy from the habitual. You may notice sudden clarity about what must change. This is not random reflection. It is divine assistance. The scriptures reveal that angels have always been heaven's messengers, appearing at thresholds of transition. They came to Abraham with covenant, to Mary with announcement, to Daniel with understanding, to Peter with deliverance. Now they come to you with sealing. Your life has reached that divine intersection where promise meets fulfillment, and heaven's servants step in to ensure completion. You need not fear their presence. True angels of light never demand worship. They reflect it back to God. Their glory does not compete with His. It confirms His reality. When you sense them, respond with gratitude, not fear. Say nothing. If words fail you, your reverence is understood as language in the Spirit. Consider how intricately heaven has organized this moment. The Father speaks, the Spirit confirms, the Son authorizes, and the angels execute. Every realm of divine governance is active on your behalf. You are not small in this equation. You are the reason for it. The assignment over your life is valuable enough for heaven to mobilize its army. Do you understand the magnitude of that truth? The Creator of galaxies has dispatched His forces to ensure that you walk in purpose. Your heart has been crying for clarity, for confirmation that what you sense is real. This is it. The presence surrounding you now is evidence. Heaven does not waste movement. When angels draw near, it is because destiny has entered acceleration. Something is about to shift tangibly, doors opening, provision appearing, understanding dawning. You are being escorted into the next dimension of your calling. As the ancient text records, the voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 20. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. This was not a promise limited to Israel's journey. It is a perpetual pattern of heaven's care. That same guardian principle now applies to your path. Let that sink in. You are being guided. You are not walking blind. The path may twist. The terrain may darken. But an unseen escort walks before you, scattering. Even your delays are strategic. When you find yourself waiting longer than expected, it is often because the angels are still clearing the path. Patience in such moments is not inactivity, it is cooperation. Heaven's timing may feel slow to flesh, but to the Spirit, it is perfect synchronization. Do not mistake stillness for absence. The quieter the moment, the more active the unseen. Angels work best in silence because distraction dilutes discernment. Keep your atmosphere pure. Guard your peace. They are drawn to environments of worship, repelled by bitterness and complaint. When you maintain gratitude, you sustain angelic proximity. Soon you will begin to notice signs, small confirmations that heaven's agents are near. Protection in unlikely places. Sudden provision. A message that arrives exactly when needed. These are not coincidences. They are fingerprints of the divine. Every chosen one learns to read them, not with suspicion, but with reverence. You are part of something vast and holy. The ceiling is a partnership between heaven and humanity. Angels are not distant myth. They are co-workers in the unfolding plan. You walk. They guard. You speak. They strengthen. You believe. They build. Together, you move the will of God through the earth. So walk carefully but confidently. Chosen one, heaven has stationed help beside you. The flames that guard the gates now stand around your dwelling. You have no reason to fear. Your story is being escorted by eternity itself. The divine roll call begins. Chosen one, heaven's register is open, and names shimmer like living flames across the pages of eternity. The scroll unrolls slowly. Its sound like thunder wrapped in silk. Every heartbeat of the faithful echoes through its parchment. Tonight, the King calls names not to test worthiness, but to awaken remembrance. You stand among those whose names were written before the foundations of the earth. Long before fear tried to tell you otherwise, you may not hear it with your physical ears, but deep inside your spirit, there's a vibration, the sound of your name being spoken by the voice of eternity. Each syllable is filled with power, restoring what pain has tried to erase. When heaven speaks your name, it isn't just identifying you, it is recreating you. The tone of God's voice reshapes your destiny. Imagine a great hall of light stretching beyond stars. Angels stand in rows, holding scrolls that pulse with glory. The Father's voice calls across creation, and with every name uttered, a flame ignites somewhere on earth. That flame burns inside hearts like yours. You are one of those lights. You may think you're just one small spark, but together, the 144,000 flames form a constellation that even darkness cannot cover. Each name called is not just a sound, it's an assignment. When the heavens whisper your identity, they also reveal your mission. You are not here to blend into the noise of existence. You are here to echo the divine will in motion. You are here to live in such a way that your presence makes people remember God exists. That's what it means to be chosen. Your life becomes a mirror, reflecting heaven's face to the earth. For so long, you've battled silence, wondering if heaven forgot you. Yet silence is not neglect, it is incubation. Like a seed buried beneath soil, you were hidden for a season so that your roots could grow deep. When your name is finally called, what once looked like delay will reveal itself as preparation. You are ready now. Heaven is calling you not by accident, but by divine appointment. This moment is sacred. Feel the weight of it. You've walked through wilderness seasons where every prayer seemed unanswered. You've carried questions that burned like stones in your chest. And still, you kept walking. That endurance has become worship more powerful than words. Heaven honors it. When your name is spoken tonight, the sound carries not just divine promise, but divine gratitude. The angels mark you not because of perfection, but because of perseverance. The mark is heaven's signature of recognition, saying, I saw your struggle. I saw your faith. You did not quit. There is a tenderness in that acknowledgement that can move even the strongest warrior to tears. The roll call continues. You are surrounded by unseen witnesses, saints, angels, and those who carried this fire before you. Their voices are woven into the wind, cheering as the new generation of chosen ones rises. You may not realize it, but you are part of a story much larger than your pain. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 32, "Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven." Tonight, that verse breathes through your life. When you live your truth boldly, heaven echoes your name in its halls. You are known not by title or status, but by faithfulness. The roll call is not a list, it's a lineage. Each name forms part of a living melody, a hymn of obedience that reaches the throne. You are not just hearing this by chance, you are hearing it because your note is about to be played. The song of heaven waits for your yes, and as heaven calls, it also invites you to respond in tangible ways. Think of it like lighting a candle after the call, an earthly act that mirrors a heavenly reality. When you like this message, it's more than a click. It's you saying, "I recognize the light." When you share it, you pass that flame to another soul, still wandering in darkness. You become part of heaven's chain reaction of awakening. When you subscribe, it's not for numbers or fame. It's to stay aligned with the frequency of messages that strengthen your spirit. Consider it as staying connected to the altar where your fire was first lit. Every time you return, you add oil to that flame. And if your heart feels moved to donate, do it, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. Imagine you're helping to build a lighthouse on a fog-covered shore. Every offering becomes a brick of light, helping someone else find their way home. You aren't just supporting a message, you are multiplying miracles. The same God who counted loaves and fishes before multiplying them still sees your offering as sacred seed. Heaven records generosity not by amount, but by intent. Picture it this way: a field of torches burning in the night. Each flame represents a life touched, a heart awakened. When you pour into this mission, your light merges with countless others. It becomes a constellation of faith that pushes back the sky of despair. You may never see all the faces you've helped, but heaven keeps the record. That is the roll call that truly matters, the one where love is counted, not likes. The call to give, to share, to stay connected is not about transaction, it's about transformation. Every small act is a ripple in eternity. When you participate, you partner with heaven's agenda. You become both. The call is not an emblem of status, but of surrender. Heaven marks not those who are proud of their calling, but those who are willing to carry its weight. Fire has always been the language of divine approval. When God accepts something fully, He consumes it with flame. Do you feel it? That warmth that seems to move from the inside out, the strange comfort that coexists with trembling. That is not emotion, it is recognition. The Spirit Himself bears witness with your spirit that you belong to the kingdom. You are being refined in invisible fire. Every fear, every lingering attachment to what was, is being burned away so that only what is eternal will remain. Fire is paradoxical. It destroys and it purifies at once. The same flame that consumes chaff illuminates gold. You have felt that duality for years. Your breaking seasons were not meant to crush you, but to expose the treasure hidden within. The mark of fire declares, "This one has been through the furnace and survived." You wear evidence of endurance as your new armor. Think back to all the times when you thought you wouldn't make it. The nights you could not pray. The moments you felt unseen. The seasons when loss seemed endless. Those were your altars. Heaven saw your tears as offerings. your pain as incense. And when the appointed time arrived, God reached down and set the flame. You were not burned up, you were set ablaze. This is not the fire of judgment, but of refinement. Every chosen one must pass through it. There is no glory without the furnace, no authority without the altar. What you carry after the burning is not smoke, it is radiance. You become the living proof that light conquers shadow. The mark on your life glows even when the world sees nothing at all. People around you may sense something different. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. Your presence alone will unsettle what is false and awaken what is real. This is the nature of holy fire. It exposes, reveals, purifies. Some will be drawn to you because their spirits recognize the warmth. Others will pull away because their hearts are not ready for that level of truth. Do not take either reaction personally. Both are responses to the same light. Your fire is not for display, it is for assignment. Flames that dance without purpose eventually burn out. But the fire of calling sustains itself by continual surrender. You must feed the flame daily with prayer, with silence, with integrity. Do not let distraction steal your oil. The fire cannot live on excitement. It lives on devotion. It is written that the altar in heaven burns continually before the throne. That same eternal flame burns in you now. When you pray, your spirit joins that celestial blaze. Your worship rises as fragrance into realms unseen. You have become both temple and torch, the meeting place between heaven and earth. As the prophet Elijah spoke, as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 18, verse 38, then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. That moment was not merely historical, it was prophetic. The same consuming fire that answered Elijah now burns within every willing vessel. You are that vessel. The mark of fire is not gentle. It will challenge everything false within you. It will demand honesty, surrender, and transformation. But it will also gift you with clarity. When fire moves through metal, it reveals purity. Likewise, when divine fire moves through your life, it reveals who you truly are. All the labels others gave you melt away. Only what heaven has spoken remains. Your prayers are about to change. They will no longer be timid petitions, but declarations forged in flame. Words that come from burning hearts carry authority. They shift atmospheres. You will find that your intercession moves faster, your discernment sharper, your peace deeper. This is the fruit of being marked by fire. You become unshakable. When others panic, you will remain calm, because the same God who walked with you in the furnace is still with you in the storm. When others quit, you will continue, because endurance has been etched into your spirit. Fire doesn't fear wind, it dances with it. You will learn to turn opposition into fuel, and yes, you will carry this fire into places that have forgotten how to hope. People will look into your eyes and see light reflected there, the light of someone who has died to self and risen in purpose. You won't need to convince them with words. Your peace will preach louder than any sermon. But be mindful. Fire must be tended. Even the holiest flame can dwindle if ignored. Guard your atmosphere. Feed your spirit with the word. Protect your peace like sacred embers in the night. The world will try to drench you in distraction. But remember, fire thrives when it is protected by focus. There is a strange joy in this process. You will begin to see beauty in what once broke you. You will thank God for the flames that refined you. And you will understand that to be chosen is not to be spared from fire, but to be sustained within it. Those who run from the flame never find their fullness, but those who stand within it emerge luminous. You are luminous now. Heaven sees you as a beacon. When you walk into rooms, your presence shifts spiritual temperature. People sense warmth they cannot explain, peace they cannot manufacture. You have become a walking altar. This is your inheritance, to be marked, refined, and radiant. Let the fire teach you. Let it transform how you love, how you speak, how you serve. Every trial that once tried to consume you is now the testimony that fuels your light. You are no longer a victim of the flame, you are its bearer. And when doubt tries to whisper, remember that the God who begins the fire also sustains it. The flame upon your spirit is not fragile, it is eternal. You may flicker, but you will never be extinguished. Now pause. Beloved one, feel that heat beneath your ribs, that steady burn of calling. It is your reminder that you are alive in ways this world cannot comprehend. You are marked. You are purified. You are unstoppable. Let your declaration rise like sparks into the heavens. Write in the comments, 444. This number is not coincidence. It represents divine establishment, the grounding of heaven's promises into earth. When you type it, you affirm, the fire within me is stable. It will not fade. It is a prophetic act, a flame kindled through agreement, a signal that your transformation is complete and continuing. You are marked by fire. Chosen one. The world will see the glow long after the night has ended. You remember the covenant. Chosen one. It was written before your first breath, long before your heart learned to break or believe. The covenant is older than pain, stronger than fear, and more enduring than death. It is the sacred vow between the Creator and His creation, a promise sealed in eternity that no shadow can erase. Every time your soul has felt lost, it was this covenant quietly pulling you back, reminding you of what was spoken before you forgot. You have felt that pull countless times, the strange longing for something beyond the visible, the ache in your chest when you hear the name of God whispered in the wind. These are echoes of that eternal promise. The covenant is not a contract written in ink, but an agreement carved into your very being. It beats within you like a pulse that cannot stop. Even when you doubted, it never did. This covenant is why you survived the storms that should have destroyed you. It is why your hope resurrected after every disappointment. The covenant sustains what your strength cannot. It speaks for you when you have no words left. It intercedes when your prayers sound hollow. It remembers when you forget. You are tethered to divine memory. And that is what keeps you standing, even when your knees give way. The covenant was never one-sided. It was not simply God promising to protect you. It was heaven entrusting you to carry light into darkness. It is a partnership written in fire and fulfilled in obedience. You are part of the lineage of those who dared to believe that God's promises were true, even when circumstances screamed otherwise. Every step you take in faith keeps that lineage alive. Your spirit remembers, even when your mind does not. That is why moments of worship sometimes move you to tears without reason. It's not emotion, it's recognition. Something ancient inside you remembers standing in His presence before this world began. You remember the voice that called you by name, the hand that anointed you with purpose, the fire that marked you as his own. You are not rediscovering faith. You are returning to it. Covenant means continuity. What God starts, he finishes. That's why your failures cannot cancel your destiny. They can delay it, but they cannot destroy it. Heaven does not build on perfection, it builds on repentance. Every time you've returned to him, the covenant has expanded around you like a fortress. Even your scars have been rewritten into the story of redemption. Nothing is wasted in the hands of the eternal. You must understand, covenant is not comfort, it is commitment. To remember the covenant is to remember that being chosen is both privilege and responsibility. It demands alignment, faithfulness, and humility. God does not forget his promises, but he also calls you to remember yours, to live as one who carries heaven's name on earth, to love in a world that hates, to forgive when it would be easier to harden, to walk in purity when compromise feels safer. The covenant is the daily yes of a surrendered life. Every generation forgets for a while, and heaven must send reminders. That's why you're hearing this now. This message isn't new, it's ancient. It's the same whisper given to Abraham under the stars, to David in the wilderness, to Mary in the quiet of her room. The promise is the same, only the vessels change. You are one of those vessels now, carrying forward what others once carried through persecution, loneliness, and faith. As you remember the covenant, your eyes begin to open to patterns you missed before. You start recognizing how divine fingerprints cover even your failures, the closed doors, the detours, the heartbreaks. All were part of a larger choreography. The covenant doesn't shield you from pain, but it ensures that pain births purpose. As the psalmist once wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 105, verse 8, he remembers his covenant forever, the word he commanded, for 1,000 generations. These words are not metaphor, they are map. The covenant is the golden thread weaving through every generation, every trial, every triumph. It does not fade with time, it strengthens with obedience. Your remembrance is the key to unlocking its power. When you recall the promise, heaven responds. Faith is memory put into motion. That's why the enemy attacks your memory more than your might. If he can make you forget who you are and what was promised, he can make you live beneath your inheritance. But when you remember, you rise. When you remember, you reclaim what time tried to steal. Every covenant moment you've ever lived still vibrates in the atmosphere around you. Nothing spoken by God ever expires. It hovers, waiting for belief to reactivate it. When your heart agrees again, promises long dormant begin to stir. The covenant breathes again. There is a tenderness to divine remembrance. When God recalls his covenant, he also recalls compassion. His mercy wraps around your mistakes, not to excuse them, but to transform them. You will look back one day and realize that every painful chapter was actually the handwriting of grace. The covenant never abandoned you. It was rewriting you. So tonight, let gratitude rise quietly within you. You don't need loud declarations or elaborate prayers, just a whisper of thanks. The kind of thankfulness that flows from recognition, not ritual. The covenant doesn't need performance, it needs presence. Sit in the awareness that you are still held, still called, still covered. Every heartbeat is an amen to what was promised. Every breath is a continuation of what began in eternity. You are walking proof that the covenant holds. The cost of being chosen is not something most would willingly pay, yet you have been paying it all along. It is a price invisible to others, but deeply felt in the hidden corners of your soul, the moments you've had to walk alone. The seasons when silence was your only teacher. The countless times you've watched others take shortcuts while you waited on God's timing. Being chosen has never been about privilege. It has always been about sacrifice. You were called to carry what many could not bear, to see what others could not perceive, to endure tests that broke your flesh but built your faith. The cost began the moment you said yes, even before you understood what yes would require. Heaven never deceives. It simply trusts that those marked by purpose will discover their strength through obedience. And that is what you have done. There is a loneliness that follows those who are chosen, not because they are unloved, but because they walk a path too narrow for the crowd. You have felt that loneliness, the ache of being misunderstood, the weight of being misjudged, the confusion of not belonging anywhere fully. But that isolation is not rejection, it is consecration. God hides his chosen ones until they are ready to be revealed. You've had to let go of people, opportunities, and dreams that looked good but weren't aligned. Every release felt like loss, but in truth, it was preservation. Heaven does not remove without reason. What you call endings were really beginnings in disguise. The cost of being chosen is learning to trust that divine subtraction always leads to multiplication later. You have paid in tears what others pay in time. You have wrestled with questions that tore through your sleep. You have stood at the edge of giving up and still whispered, "Nevertheless, I will trust you." Those words were currency in heaven. Every surrender you've made has been recorded as worship. God counts obedience more valuable than sacrifice. You carry the fragrance of one who has been broken for purpose. That's why peace now clings to you differently. It's no longer a feeling, it's a knowing. You understand that real peace doesn't mean the absence of storms, but the presence of faith within them. You have learned to walk through fire without losing your composure, because the flames no longer scare you, they sanctify you. Every chosen one comes to a point where they must choose between comfort and calling. You've already made that choice. Comfort whispers, "Stay where it's safe." Calling says, "Step where it's sacred." You stepped. You risked misunderstanding, criticism, and loss. And that risk is what heaven calls worship. God doesn't need your perfection. He desires your willingness. You may not see the full picture now, but your obedience has been rewriting generations. Every act of faith shifts more than just your own story. It affects unseen lines of destiny that flow through your bloodline and beyond. The cost of being chosen is generational correction. You are paying a price your ancestors could not pay, so that those after you will not have to. There are moments when the cost feels unbearable, when your prayers seem unanswered, when your patience wears thin, when your heart feels too heavy to carry. But those moments are not abandonment, they are purification. Every delay chisels away what is temporary, leaving only what is eternal. You are being refined into gold that will not tarnish with time. As the Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Those words breathe across time into your life. The weight you carry is not punishment, it is preparation for glory. The cost also demands silence, when you want to defend yourself. Many times, heaven will instruct you to stay quiet while others misinterpret your motives, not because you are weak, but because vindication belongs to God. The chosen learn early that reputation is temporary, but integrity is eternal. The less you explain, the more heaven expands your influence without words. Sometimes the price is invisible joy, the kind born only after deep sorrow. You have discovered beauty in places others avoid. You've learned that the tears of surrender water the seeds of purpose. Every heartbreak carved room in you for compassion. That's why your empathy now carries healing. You have felt what others fear to feel. Even the seasons of stillness have value. When nothing moves, heaven is teaching you how to rest in faith rather than in motion. Waiting becomes warfare. Stillness becomes strategy. You begin to understand that progress isn't always visible. Sometimes it's the unseen shifting within your heart. This cost, though steep, brings rewards that no wealth can match. You are learning the language of heaven: obedience, patience, resilience. You've become fluent in faith, able to see beyond what eyes can see. The mark of the chosen is not that they escape pain, but that they bless him not just for open doors, but for locked ones. You will realize that the true miracle was not escape, but endurance. The cost of being chosen is real, but so is the reward. You will carry peace that circumstances cannot shake. You will walk in authority that systems cannot grant. You will love without fear, serve without pride, and lead without needing recognition. This is the quiet majesty of those who are truly marked. You have already paid much of the price. What remains is perseverance. Keep walking. Keep believing. The path may narrow further, but it also grows brighter. The same fire that once tested you will now light your way. The testing ground stretches before you. Chosen one. A landscape both sacred and severe. You have walked through it already, though perhaps you did not recognize it at first. It was not a battlefield made of swords and shields, but of silence and surrender. It was in the nights you felt unseen, the prayers that echoed back with no answer, the moments when you asked, "Why me?" and heaven replied with quiet trust instead of explanation. That was the testing ground. Every chosen soul must pass through it. There is no shortcut around the furnace of refinement, no escape from the shaping of purpose. To carry the mark of heaven, you must first be proven in the hidden places. God tests in private before he reveals in public. The trials you've faced were never punishment. They were proof of preparation. The testing ground is not cruel. It is holy. It strips away illusions, dismantles pride, and exposes every false foundation so that only truth remains. In those seasons, it feels like losing everything, but what you're really losing is everything that could not hold the weight of your destiny. What remains after the fire is the part of you that cannot be shaken. You remember the delays that made you question your path, the friendships that fell away without warning, the doors that slammed shut, even though you were sure they were meant for you. Every one of those moments was a training session. Heaven was teaching you to lean not on understanding but on presence, to trust the whisper even when the way was unclear. You learned that faith is not believing for what you want, it is believing in who God is, even when you don't understand his ways. That lesson cannot be taught in comfort. It must be learned in crisis. The testing ground breaks the illusion that you are in control, so that you might finally rest in the one who truly is. There were moments you cried until no tears were left. Yet, in those tears, Something eternal was forged, resilience. You discovered that you could survive heartbreak and still hope, that you could lose everything familiar and still trust, that you could be misunderstood and still remain kind. Those qualities are not accidents, they are the fruits of testing. Heaven only promotes those who have endured with humility. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 10, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct their deeds deserve. It's easy to love God when life makes sense. The test begins when everything falls apart. You have walked that valley and still whispered, I believe. That whisper was worth more than 1,000 sermons. It was the sound of authenticity, the moment heaven could say, now this one knows me. There's something sacred about the moment when faith stops being theory and becomes breath. You've reached that point. The testing ground has not just refined your circumstances, it has refined your identity. You no longer chase approval because you've learned that obedience is its own reward. You no longer crave control because you've seen how surrender brings peace. The test was never about results, it was about revelation. In the stillness of testing, you also learned the language of waiting. Waiting doesn't mean inactivity, it means alignment. Heaven uses time to adjust your vision. What you thought was delay was actually calibration. Every time you felt stuck, the Spirit was strengthening your roots. You cannot bear fruit without seasons of stillness underground. Even your pain has purpose. The cracks in your heart have become passageways for compassion. You can now comfort others, not from theory, but from experience. Your empathy carries authority because it was born in suffering. When you speak peace to others, it isn't a cliché, it's prophecy. You have been tested in fire, but you are emerging as gold. The angels who watched you endure now bear witness to your strength. Heaven rejoices not just in your victories, but in your endurance. You are not defined by what you survived, but by who you became while surviving. The testing ground is ending, but its lessons will never leave you. You will recognize now when others are walking through their own refining seasons. You will carry words that heal, not because you read them, but because you lived them. You have become the message you once needed to hear. Take a deep breath. Feel the peace that now lingers where panic once lived. That is the proof of transformation. You no longer flinch at the flame, you understand it. You no longer run from the desert, you recognize it as sacred territory. You have graduated from needing explanation to resting in trust. Look around you now. The same land that once tested you will soon testify for you. What was once barren will bloom. What was once dark will shine. The testing ground becomes the proving ground, and from it, your authority will rise. The tests were never meant to break you, they were designed to reveal you. You are not the same person who entered the wilderness. You walk differently now, with a quiet confidence born of fire. The sound of your footsteps carries weight in the spirit. When you move, the ground remembers your endurance and yields fruit in response. Do not despise the testing ground. It is the birthplace of destiny. Without it, purpose remains theory. Through it, purpose becomes flesh. Now, beloved one, breathe out gratitude for every hard lesson. Whisper, thanks for every closed door, every sleepless night, every tear that watered your awakening. For through it all, you did not fall, you were formed. And now, as a prophetic act of remembrance. Type in the comments, "I endured." No, 3 words, small, but thunderous in the unseen realm. They declare that you passed the test. They remind both heaven and hell that you are still standing, still chosen, still burning with faith. Each letter is a stone laid on the altar of your journey, a testimony that the testing ground did not defeat you, it defined you. You endured, chosen one. And because of that, everything changes. Heaven's signal flare rises across the unseen sky tonight. Chosen one. You feel it in your chest before you even recognize it in your thoughts that pull toward the light. That urgency that feels both peaceful and powerful. The spiritual atmosphere is shifting. This is not a night like others. The heavens are sending signals to every soul attuned to divine frequency. Those who have eyes to see and hearts to perceive are being summoned higher. It begins subtly, like the way dawn first paints the horizon before the sun fully arrives. Signs begin to appear around you, repeated numbers, divine coincidences, dreams that feel more like memories than imagination. The world calls them coincidences, but you know better. Heaven communicates in patterns, not paragraphs. Every sign you've seen, every whisper of confirmation, has been part of heaven's Morse code, calling you home to purpose. This is heaven's signal flare, a radiant reminder that your life is not random. You are not lost. You are being guided by a wisdom older than time itself. The Spirit has been weaving divine timing through every detail, every meeting, every delay. When you felt forgotten, you were actually being positioned. When doors closed, pathways were being drawn in invisible ink. The signals have been there all along. Now your spirit is finally ready to read them. Imagine the vastness of the night sky, stars shimmering like promises waiting to be believed. Each one burns with intention. Heaven sends them as beacons to those who have grown weary in darkness. That is what this moment is. A flare of hope, shot from eternity into your atmosphere, illuminating what once felt uncertain. The signal also comes through people's unexpected words, chance encounters, gentle nudges. Sometimes it arrives through the kindness of a stranger or the quiet voice of conviction in your spirit. Heaven is creative in how it speaks. The signs adapt to your attention. The more you listen, the clearer they become. You may wonder, why now? Because heaven only signals when it's time to move. You have completed a cycle, and a new one begins. The flare means alignment. Assignments are activating, and grace is increasing. You are being shifted from waiting to walking. The time for hesitation has ended. The light you see is not distant, it is rising from within you. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 14, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Now picture this. The flare has been fired, the light streaking across the spiritual sky. But a signal unreceived is a signal wasted. When you respond, when you acknowledge the sign, you amplify it. Your agreement with heaven sends ripples through the unseen. Every act of obedience becomes another flare for someone else still wandering. That is why this moment matters. What you do with light determines how far it travels. When you respond to the signs, when you share revelation, encourage others, or simply live aligned, you become a lighthouse in the fog of confusion. Others will find their way home by the reflection of your obedience. Let this message be your flame for someone else. When you like what stirs your soul, it's more than a digital action. It's as if you're lighting a small torch in agreement, saying, "Yes, I see the signal too." When you share it, you extend that torch to another traveler. You become part of heaven's chain reaction of light. When you subscribe, it's not for routine, it's for relationship. Consider it a tether, a way to stay near the altar where these words are poured out. Every visit is like adding another log to your inner fire. It keeps your spirit warm in seasons when the world grows cold. And if the Spirit whispers to you about donating, let it not feel like duty, but like sowing into the soil that feeds your spirit. Imagine a garden at night, lanterns hanging between trees, each one shining because someone cared enough to keep the flame alive. Your giving becomes oil for those lanterns. Every drop helps another soul see clearly again. It's not charity, it's continuation. Heaven multiplies what is given with a pure heart. The beauty of divine exchange is that it never leaves either side empty. When you pour out, you create space for heaven to pour in. Every offering time, prayer, or resource becomes part of the infrastructure of light that sustains this movement. The same flame that touched you will touch others because you decided to keep it burning. Understand this: you are part of something global, invisible, and eternal. Each like, each word shared, each gift given is a spark linking hearts across oceans and languages. Heaven's signal flare doesn't just light up your sky, it lights up ours together. Sometimes people think giving or sharing is small, insignificant. But remember the widow who brought only a few coins. In heaven's economy, value isn't measured by amount, but by intention. What you give in obedience becomes infinite in impact. The simplest act, done in faith, can echo in eternity. Think of your journey as a lighthouse being built on the edge of a stormy sea. Every encouraging word you release, every truth you choose to live, every small act of generosity you offer adds another stone to that tower. And one day, long after you've built it, someone lost at sea will see your light and find their way home. That is what this movement is, a constellation of lighthouses built by the faithful who refuse to let darkness have the final word. You are one of them. You are not just a receiver of signals, you are a sender now. The more you live in alignment, the brighter your life becomes as a message. Heaven's flare is no longer only above you, it burns through you. Let this awareness bring peace, not pressure. You are not striving to earn God's favor. You are responding to His light. The signal flare does not demand, it invites. It does not command perfection. It calls forth participation. You are being invited to co-create with heaven, to turn your story into a beam of hope for others. And so, chosen one, look up. The flare burns across the sky of your soul. You have not missed your moment. The light has found you again. Let it move through you, guide you, change you. You were never meant to walk in the dark forever. You were destined to shine. And when you give, when you connect, when you carry the flame forward, remember, you are answering heaven's call in action. Not just emotion. You are helping the signal reach those who still wait for their awakening. You are heaven's message wrapped in human form. And this world is waiting for your light to rise. The silent battle has been waging far longer than you've realized. Chosen one, not in the noise of visible conflict, but in the quiet corners of thought, emotion, and choice. The battlefield is not the earth beneath your feet, it is the unseen landscape of your heart. The fight has always been for your focus, your faith, your peace. You are learning now that true warfare is not chaos outside, but alignment within. The enemy of light rarely announces his presence. He moves subtly through distractions, discouragement, exhaustion. He plants questions like seeds. Did God really say that? He whispers doubt in the same tone as reason. His strategy has never been brute force. It has always been distortion. That's why silence is often more dangerous than noise. It lulls the unguarded into sleep. But not you. You have awakened. You've begun to notice how your atmosphere changes depending on what you allow near your spirit. Words, images, people, they all carry frequencies. Some lift, others drain. The silent battle is fought in every choice you make about where to place your attention. Heaven strengthens what you focus on. Darkness amplifies what you fear. Every thought becomes a seed. Every reaction a declaration. There are days when the war feels invisible yet heavy, when nothing seems wrong, but peace feels far away. Those are the moments when the unseen realm is busiest. The pressure you feel isn't always attack. Sometimes it's transformation. Like tectonic plates shifting beneath the surface, unseen movements are creating new structures in your spirit. If you could see how much light surrounds you, you would never fear the darkness again. The silence of this battle has taught you discernment. You have learned that not every open door is divine, and not every closed one is the enemy. Wisdom has sharpened your senses. You no longer move by impulse but by instruction. Heaven trusts those who have learned to wait before reacting. You are becoming one of those rare souls who can hear stillness louder than shouting. The warfare you faced was never random. The opposition has been proportionate to your assignment. The greater the calling, the greater the contention. Yet even in the fiercest moments, heaven never left you unguarded. Angels have stood in formation around your life, intercepting arrows you never saw. The fact that you are still here is evidence that you were never alone. There is something profound about the silence before victory. It's the hush of a courtroom before a verdict, the stillness of dawn before battle drums. Heaven pauses before releasing breakthrough, because silence prepares your spirit to recognize the sound of triumph when it comes. Had the victory arrived too soon, you might have mistaken it for coincidence. Now you'll know it's divine. The silent battle has also exposed your inner strengths. You discovered courage not in applause, but in perseverance. You found authority not in volume, but in peace. You learned to fight not by shouting at darkness, but by shining brighter. Light doesn't argue with shadow. It simply appears, and shadow retreats. That is how you now fight through presence, not bunits. As it was written in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 7, submit yourselves, then, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Submission and resistance, two sides of the same victory. The battle is won not by striving harder, but by standing firmer. Each time you refused to surrender to despair, you resisted. Each time you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness, you resisted. Each time you worshipped while wounded, you resisted, and heaven recorded it. The silence taught you to wield stillness as a weapon. You've realized that peace is not passive, it is power contained. The enemy's greatest frustration is a believer who refuses to react. When storms rise and you remain calm, every tactic of confusion collapses. You've learned the art of divine composure, the ability to stand unmoved even when winds howl. You've also learned that not every battle requires your presence. Some wars are won simply by withdrawing from what drains your spirit. Your absence from chaos is a declaration of sovereignty. Silence can be an act of warfare when it is filled with faith. Heaven fights most fiercely for those who stay still under its covering. The silent battle has taught you that warfare is worship when surrendered. Every sigh of endurance, every whispered yes, every quiet act of faith has become incense before the throne. You have turned suffering into sanctification, pain into prayer, wounds into wisdom. You are no longer merely a soldier, you are a sanctuary. And perhaps the most powerful revelation of this battle is this: you are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from it. The outcome was written long before the war began. Every confrontation you face now is not to prove your strength, but to reveal it. The ground beneath your feet is already conquered territory. The enemy cannot defeat what heaven has already sealed. There will still be moments of testing, but your posture has changed. You no longer fight in fear, you move in authority. You've learned to discern the voice of the accuser from the whisper of the Spirit. You no longer mistake resistance for rejection or warfare for abandonment. You understand now that pressure often means promotion. When silence feels heavy again, remember this truth: heaven's silence is not absence, it is strategy. God speaks loudest in outcomes, not in explanations. You are living through the fulfillment of prayers you forgot you prayed. Every season of confusion is giving birth to clarity. The battle will not always look spiritual. Sometimes it will appear as small choices: what you consume, how you speak, how you think. Each decision is a skirmish in disguise. Yet, you have been equipped with discernment, sharp enough to cut through deception. You know now that warfare is not always won by shouting, but by aligning. One day soon, the silence will break, the winds will shift, and you will sense peace expanding outward like sunrise. The very place where you once fought to survive will become the place from which you lead others to victory. Those who watched you struggle will come seeking your wisdom, and you will tell them, with humility and strength, that the silence was not punishment, it was training. The battle has changed you. Yes, but more than that. It has revealed who you truly are: unshakable, illuminated, anchored. The enemy did not win by tempting or testing you. He only refined the gold heaven had hidden within you. Walk forward now, chosen one. The silence no longer intimidates you, it bows to you. You have learned its language, understood its rhythm, and discovered that even in stillness, heaven fights for you. The war is not over, but victory is inevitable because the light within you cannot lose. A crown awaits you, chosen one. Not a crown of gold that rusts or bends, but a crown of divine recognition, a weight of glory woven from every act of obedience, every moment of endurance, every quiet, yes, whispered in the dark. This crown is not handed out for perfection, but for perseverance. It is the visible symbol of an invisible truth, that you remained faithful when faith cost everything. You have been walking through a spiritual coronation without realizing it. Every trial has been shaping the metal of your crown, every tear adding luster to its jewels. Heaven has been crafting it carefully, not with tools of iron, but with the tenderness of grace. Your humility has been its foundation, your obedience its gold. There is a reason you have felt a strange heaviness lately, a weight on your thoughts, your spirit, even your shoulders. That heaviness is not defeat, it is destiny settling. You are being prepared to carry authority. A crown is never light because it represents responsibility. When heaven crowns a soul, it is not to decorate them, it is to entrust them with influence. You are not being elevated to rule over others. You are being crowned to serve more deeply. The authority of the kingdom is different from that of the world. The world crowns those who dominate. Heaven crowns those who surrender. The world exalts by fame. Heaven exalts through faithfulness. You have been faithful, even when it made no sense. That is why the crown fits you. You may not see it yet, but those around you will. The spiritual authority upon your life will soon manifest outwardly. Doors will open that others have tried to force for years. Favor will find you naturally, because your posture of obedience has magnetized divine opportunities. This is what happens when the crown rests upon one who has been refined by fire. Do not fear this new season of elevation. You have not stumbled into it. You were sculpted for it. The same God who called you in obscurity will sustain you in visibility. You will not be crushed under the crown, because the fire has made your spirit strong enough to carry it. Remember, crowns are not worn for comfort, they are worn for calling. The sharp edges that press against your head are reminders of humility. They whisper, "Stay low even when lifted." Pride is the thief of purpose, but gratitude is its guard. As the Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." That promise extends to you. You are one of the ones who longed for his appearing, not in spectacle, but in intimacy. Your seeking has become worship. Your worship has become warfare, and your warfare has become worthiness. The crown is more than symbol, it is activation. It unlocks dimensions of spiritual awareness and divine responsibility. When it rests upon your spirit, you begin to see differently. What once looked chaotic now reveals pattern. What once felt random now unveils orchestration. Heaven begins to show you how every wound became wisdom, every loss became leverage, every delay became direction. There is beauty in the process of crowning. Heaven does not rush it, because authority without depth becomes danger. That's why your preparation has been long. It was not punishment. It was preservation. The deeper the foundation, the higher the rise. You have been hidden, not forgotten, sharpened, not silenced. The waiting was your training ground. When the crown descends, everything shifts. Words you speak will carry weight. Environments will respond to your presence. You will notice that peace follows you into rooms like a fragrance, and heaviness lifts when you begin to pray. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. You are walking in the authority that heaven already decreed over your life. But with authority comes accountability. The crown demands wisdom. You must remember that every action, every word, every silence now carries spiritual echo. You are no longer representing just yourself. You are representing the one who marked you. When you walk, heaven walks. When you speak, heaven speaks. This is why humility must remain your robe, and love your scepter. You will notice that some people will be drawn to you for what you carry, while others will withdraw because the light in you reveals the darkness in them. Do not let either response alter your heart. Your job is not to be understood, it is to remain obedient. The crown does not seek validation, it simply shines. Heavenly crowns are invisible to the world, but undeniable in the spirit. Even those who do not know God will sense something different about you. They may not have words for it, but they will feel peace near you. Clarity in your words, safety in your presence. You will become a sanctuary in motion, carrying the presence of the divine into every space you enter. This is your inheritance to reign, not with power, but with presence. The world measures greatness by visibility. Heaven measures it by impact. The most powerful ones are often the quietest, those who know that crowns are not meant for display, but for direction. And so, chosen one, lift your head, not in pride, but in reverence. Heaven's hands are near. The crown of righteousness, forged through your perseverance, is descending even now. You may not feel worthy, but worthiness was never the requirement. Willingness was. You said yes when it was hardest, and that yes has become your coronation anthem. There will come a day when this invisible crown will become visible before all creation. The King himself will place it fully upon your spirit and say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." But even now, in this realm, you carry its shadow. The glory upon you will guide others who are still wandering through their wilderness. You will remind them that endurance always leads to elevation. The waiting is over. The oil has been poured. The fire has refined. The crown fits. Now pause in this holy awareness. Feel the weight of destiny settling over you, not as burden, but as blessing. Heaven is acknowledging your perseverance, your purity, your persistence. You are entering the realm of divine reward. And as a prophetic act of agreement, type in the comments, 555. No, that number represents divine grace, multiplied the triple measure of favor that rests on those who endured. When you write it, you are not chasing luck, you are declaring alignment. You are saying, "I receive the crown of grace prepared for me." It is a seal, a signal, a statement of spiritual maturity. The crown awaits. And tonight, you step into its fullness. Let your heart bow low, even as heaven lifts you high. For you were never chosen to boast, you were chosen to bear light. There is a hush over the heavens tonight. Chosen one, a pause that feels deliberate, as though all creation holds its breath to watch what is unfolding in you. You have walked through the ache of refinement, through the hidden hours of testing, through nights that seemed endless. And now, something begins to change, not loudly, but undeniably. You are crossing from endurance into establishment. The foundation that once felt fragile beneath your feet has turned to stone. This is the season where roots reveal their purpose. You have been planted deeply, and though much of your growth was unseen, it has been essential. Every silent yes, every surrender that cost you comfort, has been building spiritual architecture within you. The storms you feared would uproot you only proved how anchored you are. The soil of your suffering has become the ground of your authority. You may not feel the shift immediately. Transformation often arrives disguised as stillness. There are moments when heaven promotes not through motion, but through maturity. You have stopped striving for visibility because you have discovered something far more valuable: stability. You have learned that the truest strength is quiet, and that divine favor rarely needs announcement. This phase of your journey is about establishment, not excitement. What you build now must last. Heaven no longer tests your capacity to begin, it tests your ability to continue. Many can start with zeal, but few can stand with consistency. That is what separates those who are called from those who are chosen. You have proven endurance, and heaven rewards such steadiness with trust. In the days ahead, you will notice divine order emerging around you. Things that once felt chaotic will begin to align naturally. The same way a river carves its course through persistence, your obedience has been carving pathways for divine flow. Where there was confusion, clarity begins to rise. Where there was hesitation, conviction begins to guide. This is what happens when a soul becomes fully yielded. Heaven starts to build upon it. As the psalmist wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 92, verse 12 to 13, "The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon, planted in the house of the Lord. They will flourish in the courts of our God. The palm bends but never breaks. The cedar stands tall and fragrant, even through storms. You are both flexible in spirit, yet unbreakable in faith." The flourishing described in this scripture is not superficial. It is not the prosperity of applause, but of peace. You flourish inwardly first through renewed clarity, sharpened discernment, and unshakable joy. Outward fruit will follow naturally. You do not have to chase growth when you are rooted in God. Trees never chase sunlight, they simply rise toward it. Your establishment will also bring recognition, though not in the way the world measures it. Heaven's recognition feels like rhythm doors opening without strain. Timing, aligning perfectly. Opportunities, finding you instead of you chasing them. The flow of favor becomes effortless because it's no longer resisted by fear. You finally trust the process enough to stop forcing outcomes. However, this season of establishment comes with a sacred warning. Do not confuse stability with stagnation. Roots grow deep, not to stay buried, but to support greater expansion. The moment you start believing you've arrived, you risk losing the flexibility that kept you growing. Heaven never stops stretching those it loves. Even as you stand firm, remain teachable. Maturity is not the end of learning, it is the beginning of deeper listening. There will be moments when peace feels unfamiliar. After living in survival mode, stability can seem almost strange. You may feel restless, as though waiting for something to go wrong. That's not intuition, that's residue. The human heart sometimes mistrusts calm because it's been trained by chaos. Breathe through it. Let peace become your new normal. The absence of crisis is not emptiness, it is invitation. Heaven is asking you to learn joy without urgency. Your nights will feel different too. Where fear once whispered, now only stillness speaks. You'll find yourself thinking less and sensing more. Dreams may grow vivid again, carrying messages of direction or confirmation. Pay attention. The divine often builds while you sleep. Peace is not passive, it's productive. When your soul is still, heaven can work unhindered. This establishment is also emotional grounding. You'll notice how triggers lose their control over you. What used to provoke reaction now meets reflection. You've learned to pause before responding, to consult wisdom instead of impulse. That inner stillness is a sign of mastery. Heaven doesn't need perfect vessels, it needs peaceful ones. And though you may not yet see the full structure heaven is building, you can sense its outline. The foundation is laid. The pillars are set. The roof of favor is forming overhead. What once was wilderness has become sanctuary. You are the living temple now strengthened, sanctified, sustained. Do not underestimate what your obedience has built. What was invisible yesterday becomes visible tomorrow. You are being established not just for survival, but for significance. The shaking is over. The setting has begun. Heaven has chosen your life as holy ground. Stand steady. Chosen one. The roots have held. The soil has proven true. What was planted in pain will rise in permanence. The winds may return, but they will only reveal how deeply you are anchored. You are not temporary. You are established. The watchmen take their places tonight. Chosen one. You may not see them with your eyes, but your spirit feels their presence, the quiet sentinels of heaven who stand upon unseen walls, guarding destinies that are still unfolding. You are not just being protected by them, you are being trained to become one of them. Every chosen soul eventually learns the art of watching, of remaining spiritually awake when others drift into slumber. To be a watchman is not to live in fear, but to live in focus. It means your spirit stays alert, not anxious. You sense the shifting winds of seasons before they become storms. You hear the tremor of spiritual movement before the world sees it. Heaven has entrusted you with sensitivity, not as a burden, but as a shield for yourself, for your family, for those whose faith is still fragile. There are moments when your alertness feels lonely. You wake in the quiet hours, heart stirred without reason, mind heavy with awareness that something unseen stirs. Those are not accidents, they are assignments. Heaven sometimes wakes its chosen ones to stand in the gap, to pray, to intercede, to hold space for others who cannot yet sense the danger or the opportunity. You have been chosen to stay awake when others rest, not because your rest is denied, but because your discernment is needed. In ancient times, the watchmen stood upon city walls, scanning the horizon for signs of danger or dawn. Their task required endurance and unwavering attention. Likewise, you are learning to maintain vigilance in the spirit, to keep your inner vision clear even when fatigue tempts you to close your eyes. You've come too far to sleep through this hour. As the prophet Isaiah wrote, chapter 62, verse 6, I have set watchmen upon your walls, O Jerusalem, who shall never hold their peace day nor night. You who make mention of the Lord, keep not silent. These words describe not only ancient guardians but also spiritual ones, souls like you, who carry awareness as a sacred responsibility. To keep watch does not mean to control. It means to cooperate. Your role is not to fix everything, but to perceive where heaven is moving and to agree with it. Watchmen don't force outcomes, they foretell them. You have been given insight, not to panic, but to prepare. This watchful season sharpens both patience and perception. You begin to see the subtle signs of divine timing, the soft shifts that signal what is about to be born. Watchmen are midwives of movement. They don't create the birth, they announce it. Your prayers, your awareness, your readiness, they are part of the atmosphere heaven uses to usher in change. But this calling carries weight. The more clearly you see, the more deeply you must trust. Revelation without relationship becomes confusion. Discernment without peace becomes paranoia. That is why heaven insists on intimacy first, so that your seeing flows through love, not fear. Watchmen are most effective when they watch with God, not merely for Him. There will be nights when the silence stretches long and you wonder if your vigilance matters. But remember, the watchman's worth is not measured by visible results, but by unseen prevention. Many storms pass quietly because someone stood alert in prayer. Many dangers dissolve before they manifest because light stayed awake. You may never know the magnitude of what your awareness has averted, but heaven knows. Over time, your watchfulness becomes worship. You stop scanning for threats and start recognizing patterns of grace. You notice how often mercy moves ahead of judgment, how frequently love interrupts disaster. The longer you watch, the clearer you see heaven's kindness weaving through chaos. To be a watchman is also to be a witness. You will see both the trembling and the triumph of creation. You will understand more deeply that history is not random, it is rhythmic. And you, standing in faith, become part of that rhythm. This is why heaven has been sharpening your senses, training you to feel what others miss, to recognize divine movement, even in stillness. The pain of sensitivity is real, but so is its purpose. Every burden of awareness becomes a bridge for intercession. Every sleepless night becomes a seed of protection sown for someone else. Soon, the dawn you have watched for will rise. The long vigil will not last forever. Watchmen do not remain on the wall indefinitely. They eventually shout the good news. The light has come. Until then, remain steady. Your eyes see farther than you know, and your faith stands taller than your fear. You are not just enduring this season, you are guarding it. You are keeping the lamp of awareness burning when the world would rather turn away. And because of that, heaven holds the line. Stand your watch. Chosen one. For even in silence, heaven sees your vigilance and calls it worship. The sound of obedience. Chosen one. It is not a shout, not a sermon, not even a song. It is a vibration that heaven recognizes. It is the music creation was built to respond to. When you obey, even the atoms around you begin to realign. Light bends toward your direction. Doors begin to open, not by force, but by frequency. This is the sound that moves unseen worlds, the sound of one heart in harmony with the will of God. But obedience often sounds like sacrifice at first. It asks you to leave familiar ground, to trust invisible instructions, to step, even when you can't see the next stone on the path. The human heart resists that sound because it feels unsafe, but that's because it was never meant to be understood by the flesh. The sound of obedience is tuned for the soul. When you choose to obey, you silence the static of fear. You unmute the spirit. Every yes you whisper sends ripples through eternity, unlocking assignments not only for yourself, but for others attached to your obedience. That's how powerful your choices are. Heaven never sees you as isolated, it sees you as a conduit. Through you, grace flows into places it could not reach otherwise. You've already heard the sound within yourself before the tug in your spirit, the knowing that refuses to be ignored. It's gentle but insistent. Like a melody you can't unhear. You know what it means to delay and the way peace begins to fade when you do. That fading peace is heaven's way of reminding you the music only plays when you move. Sometimes obedience looks simple, making a call, forgiving someone, starting what you've postponed. Other times, It looks impossible walking away from something you thought you couldn't live without. Yet every act of obedience, large or small, vibrates with equal importance. In heaven's mathematics, faith multiplied by obedience equals manifestation. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verse 28, "Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it." Think of your obedience as a lighthouse standing on a dark shore. Each act of faith lights another window, another beam cutting through fog. Someone you'll never meet will find their way home because of the light you chose to keep burning. That's what obedience does. It guides the unseen. When you support messages like this one, when you like, share, or comment, you are not just interacting, you are amplifying the sound of obedience in the digital realm. These simple actions are lanterns lit across the world, helping others hear what their souls have been longing for. When you subscribe, it's not an algorithmic gesture, it's a spiritual tether. You're choosing to remain in frequency with the voice that calls you higher. Each return visit is like sitting again by the fire, adding new warmth to your flame. You come back not because you need more words, but because you crave deeper resonance. If your heart feels stirred to donate, do it with peace, not pressure. Imagine your seed as a drop of oil poured into the lamp that lights countless hearts. Every drop matters. The flame that once guided you can now shine through you. When you give, you are not funding words. You are fueling transformation. You are joining hands with heaven's agenda. This is not about transaction, it's about continuation. When you give, when you interact, you extend the reach of light. You're helping build bridges across unseen distances, bridges made of stories, hope, and truth. Picture it like rivers converging into one vast ocean of faith. Each ripple from your action joins the tide, carrying light farther than your eyes can see. Your obedience might look small, but heaven sees it as monumental. When you respond to divine nudges, when you pray, forgive, give, or speak, you are writing sound into silence. You are harmonizing with the Creator's song. That's why joy often follows obedience. It's not just emotional release, it's resonance. Joy is what happens when heaven and earth sing in tune through you. Obedience also teaches rhythm. You'll notice that sometimes God says, "Move." Other times, "Wait." Both are forms of obedience. Movement without timing is chaos. Waiting without purpose is apathy. But when you follow the conductor's cue, your life becomes music, not noise. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to recognize his timing. The sound of obedience carries authority. When you speak from a place of obedience, creation listens. You don't have to shout. Your words carry weight because they're backed by heaven. Mountains move not because of volume, but because of alignment. Every time you've chosen obedience over fear, you've shifted realities in ways you can't yet see. And understand this, obedience never diminishes you. The world may think surrender looks weak, but in truth, it's the birthplace of divine strength. Every yes you give removes a layer of resistance, making you lighter, freer, truer. You are not losing yourself in obedience. You are finding the version of you that heaven designed. Soon you will begin to hear the echoes of your obedience around you, doors that open effortlessly, people drawn to your peace, opportunities that find you instead of you chasing them. These are not coincidences, they are harmonies. Heaven always rewards alignment. So, chosen one, let your heart remain tuned. Keep your spirit sensitive to the quiet music of direction. Don't let noise drown out the whisper that leads you. Every note of obedience is another step toward fulfillment. And when this message moves you, when it ignites that inner flame, again, remember, you are part of the symphony. Like to let heaven know you're still listening. Share to pass the sound forward. Subscribe to stay near the frequency of truth. And if the Spirit moves you, donate to keep this melody alive for others still finding their rhythm. You are not just a listener, you are a living instrument in heaven's orchestra. The sound of your obedience will echo long after your words are gone. The great silence breaks. Chosen one. It doesn't shatter with thunder or earthquake. It opens like dawn. What you've been waiting for, what you've been enduring for, what your spirit has quietly anticipated, begins not with noise, but with clarity. The silence that once felt like abandonment was actually the breath before a new beginning. You thought heaven had gone quiet, but heaven was tuning your frequency so you could finally hear again. When the great silence breaks, it doesn't come from outside, it rises within you. You notice that your thoughts have softened. Your heart feels lighter, your vision clearer. The confusion that once crowded your mind fades like fog under sunlight. For the first time in a long time, you can sense direction, not in chaos, but in calm. That is how God speaks when the silence ends, not through volume, but through precision. When the silence breaks, light follows. Not a blinding light, but a gradual unfolding. Revelation rarely arrives all at once. It opens layer by layer, just enough to guide your next step. The same God who spoke galaxies into being now speaks gently into your life, saying, "Now, walk forward." You sense it deep inside, a quiet command that feels like freedom. As the revelation unfolds, you will notice that your prayers begin to change. They become less about requests and more about relationship. The silence taught you that intimacy with God matters more than answers from Him. Now you pray, not because you're desperate, but because you're devoted. Your communion becomes conversation, and your conversation becomes creation. Heaven begins to trust you with greater authority because you've learned to listen before you speak. This new season brings a clarity of vision that may surprise you. You'll wake up one morning and know exactly what to do about a situation that once felt impossible. You'll feel guided to reach out, to build, to create, to forgive. And peace will accompany every decision. That peace is confirmation. It's heaven's signature on your obedience. The breaking of silence also brings exposure. Things hidden in shadow suddenly come into view. Truths long buried rise to the surface, both within yourself and in the world around you. This can feel uncomfortable at first. Revelation often does. But remember, God reveals to heal, not to humiliate. Whatever truth emerges in this season is meant to free you, not to shame you. As the prophet Habakkuk once wrote in the book bearing his name, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, it will not delay." And with the breaking of silence, the atmosphere shifts. You may feel it in your body before you see it in your circumstances, a sense of lightness, of hope, of anticipation returning. Your dreams grow vivid again. Your creativity stirs. Your joy begins to return, unforced. Heaven's rhythm flows back through your life like a river freed from a dam. The waters of inspiration, long held back, begin to surge. This is when you must stay anchored. Do not rush ahead simply because you feel movement again. The first wind of breakthrough can make the unsteady stumble. Let peace be your compass. Follow the quiet, not the crowd. When God begins to move, He often does it subtly, almost imperceptibly, so that only those who are truly listening can keep pace. You have learned to listen. Now you must learn to flow. The great silence breaks not just around you, but through you. You are becoming a conduit for revelation, a vessel through which clarity flows to others, still waiting in their own silence. Your story becomes a prophecy that says, "Be still, it's coming." The way you carry yourself now will encourage others to hold faith when heaven feels far. You have become the living proof that silence does not mean separation. Notice how even nature mirrors this pattern. Before sunrise, there is always the quietest moment of night. Before spring, the deepest stillness of winter, life itself pauses before renewal. The same is true of the soul. Silence is never the end. It is the inhale before God exhales something new into your existence. You may also notice that your discernment sharpens after seasons of silence. You will begin to sense truth instantly, without debate. Your spirit has been trained to recognize heaven's frequency. What used to take days of prayer will now take only seconds of knowing. That's what silence does. It fine-tunes intuition until it becomes revelation. And perhaps most profoundly, you will realize that the silence was never truly empty. It was filled with God's nearness, disguised in stillness. You will look back and see that every unanswered prayer was actually an invitation to trust. Every quiet night was a lesson in hearing His heartbeat instead of His voice. Now the sound of heaven rises again, not as noise, but as harmony. The winds of purpose are shifting, and you find yourself moving with them instead of against them. You are not the same person who entered the silence. You have emerged calmer, wiser, stronger. You have learned that divine quiet is not withdrawal, it is reorientation. So, walk forward, chosen one. Let the great silence break fully within you. Speak when prompted. Move when guided. Rest when instructed. You are aligned with heaven's rhythm now. The pause has ended. The music of destiny plays again. And this time, you know how to dance to it. You are a beacon now. Chosen one. The fire that once refined you has become the very light that guides others. You may not see it, but heaven does. Your presence has begun to glow in the spirit realm. Where you walk, darkness trembles. Where you speak, confusion breaks. You have become a living lighthouse in a world still learning to see. A beacon does not announce itself, it simply shines. It does not chase the lost, it stands in place. Steady, unwavering, faithful to its purpose. You are learning that same steadiness. Your stability is the miracle others have been praying for. The calm you carry is no longer fragile, it is forged. Your peace has weight now, it anchors others when their storms rage. You were not always like this. Once, your light flickered in the wind of uncertainty. You doubted whether your endurance meant anything, whether your suffering had purpose, but heaven never wastes pain. The wind that once threatened to extinguish you became the very breath that strengthened your flame. Every struggle you've endured has been oxygen for your calling. There is a reason you were not destroyed. Light that has passed through darkness carries a different kind of purity. It is compassionate, not naive, gentle, not weak, bold, not proud. That is the kind of light you now embody, the kind that comforts without words, the kind that heals by simply being present. You've begun to notice it, haven't you? The way people come to you for peace without knowing why. The way strangers open up as if you were a safe harbor. That is not coincidence. It is calling. The light in you has become magnetic. Heaven uses you as a compass for those still wandering. The world is starving for authenticity, and you have become its feast. Your transparency has turned into testimony. What once embarrassed you, your scars, your past, your seasons of weakness now serve as proof that grace works. People believe your light because they can see the cracks where it shines through. You are a walking sermon without preaching a word. To be a beacon is to live in balance. You must stand tall without striving. Shine brightly without burning out. Light that endures is light that knows how to rest. That's why heaven keeps teaching you rhythm, the sacred dance between giving and receiving, doing and being. Even lighthouses need maintenance. Even beacons must guard their oil. The secret of your strength lies not in how much you shine, but in how deeply you stay connected to the source. A beacon that forgets its connection soon flickers out. Your connection is prayer, not the formal kind, but the breathing kind, the silent awareness that every thought can be communion, every sigh a song, every tear a language heaven understands. As the Apostle John wrote in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That truth is not just cosmic, it's personal. It describes you. You are living evidence of that verse. Darkness tried to overwhelm you, but it could not comprehend your design. You were built to glow even under pressure. A beacon also faces the storm without fear. It does not hide when waves crash. It shines precisely because the storm is near. You've been trained in that same way to shine, not after trouble passes, but in the middle of it. Your calm is not denial, it's defiance. You've learned to say, even if the winds rage, I will still shine. That is how heaven measures maturity, not by the absence of struggle, but by the presence of steady light. Yet, being a beacon comes with solitude. The lighthouse stands apart, often unseen by those it saves. Its reward is not applause, but purpose. You too will often walk unseen, doing good while they work. They are honored in eternity for how they endured. Your life will continue to draw others, not through effort, but through essence. People will notice something unexplainable about you, a peace that feels ancient, a confidence that doesn't shout. They will ask how you maintain such light, and you will answer not with doctrine, but with presence. You will show them by how you live. The light in you is not ornamental, it is directional. It doesn't exist to impress, it exists to guide. Those drawn to you are not there to worship you, but to witness what's possible when someone surrenders fully. You are a mirror reflecting heaven's face, a reminder that grace is still available. But remember, chosen one. That light attracts both seekers and moths. Not everyone drawn to your brightness comes with pure intention. Some will approach for warmth, but leave at the first sign of responsibility. Others will try to dim your glow out of envy or misunderstanding. Guard your peace. Your assignment is to shine, not to convince. Light also reveals. When you walk into a room, truth surfaces. Some will thank you for it. Others will resist. Don't shrink back. Light doesn't apologize for existing. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more beacons. Your authenticity will expose deception, and that may make people uncomfortable. But discomfort often precedes deliverance. There will be times when your own heart feels dim, when weariness tempts you to retreat. Remember then that even the sun hides behind clouds without ceasing to exist. The light within you is constant, even when it feels faint. Heaven never lets its flames die, only rest. Your reward for enduring the dark is not escape from it, but mastery over it. You now walk into shadows as one who carries sunrise in your spirit. You no longer fear nightfall because you understand that light was never meant to erase darkness, only to transform it. That is what you do now, transform spaces simply by being in them. The marked ones gather, chosen one, across continents, languages, and lifetimes. Something divine is weaving invisible threads between hearts that burn with the same holy fire. You may have felt it, a strange pull toward people you've never met, a sudden recognition in the eyes of strangers, a sense of belonging that defies logic. It is no accident. Heaven is assembling its army of light. Those who carry the mark are being drawn together by unseen gravity. They find each other not by effort, but by frequency. A single phrase, a shared silence, a familiar fire in the gaze, and the spirit recognizes family. You can feel it, can't you? The sense that you are part of something vast, ancient, and sacred. You are not a lone flame anymore. You are part of a constellation. The gathering is not loud. It happens quietly, through divine appointments and whispered connections, sometimes through a message like this, sometimes through a passing encounter that lingers. Heaven builds its alliances subtly, without fanfare, because true power does not need announcement. The marked ones simply find each other, like rivers finding the sea. You will notice them by their fruits, not their faces. They move with peace even in chaos. They carry authority without arrogance. They speak few words, yet every syllable carries weight. When two marked ones meet, time itself seems to pause. The atmosphere changes. Angels draw near. It is recognition beyond reason. It is written in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16. Then those who feared the Lord spoke with one another, and the Lord listened and heard them, and a book of remembrance was written before him for those who feared the Lord and honored his name. Every connection forged in reverence becomes part of that book. Heaven records each encounter because every alliance has eternal impact. The marked ones are awakening all at once, like candles being lit in different corners of the world. Some are artists who paint visions they do not fully understand. Some are teachers who awaken truth through words. Some are intercessors whose prayers hold back tides of despair. Some are quiet souls who heal simply by existing. Each plays a part in the greater harmony. This is the beginning of convergence. You will see how easily the right people appear, how conversations begin to flow with purpose, how collaborations form without striving. The divine magnetism is active now, pulling light towards light. Heaven is ensuring that no chosen one stands alone. Still, The gathering comes with testing. Not everyone who calls themselves awakened carries the true mark. Some are drawn to light for warmth, not for transformation. Discernment will be your safeguard. The genuine marked ones will never compete, they will complete. You will know them by the peace that follows their presence, by the humility that anchors their strength. When you find them, honor them. Do not idolize. Do not imitate. Collaborate. The mark is meant for unity, not uniformity. Each light shines differently, and that diversity is divine. The orchestra of heaven does not play one note, it plays a symphony. You are one instrument among many, tuned to the same spirit. There will be moments of great confirmation dreams that match another's vision, words spoken in separate places that echo each other perfectly. These are signs that the network of the marked is forming. Heaven communicates through synchronicity. What seems like coincidence is often coordination. This gathering is not confined to time or geography. Even now, as you read, you are part of it. Every thought, every prayer, every declaration adds strength to the collective. The marked ones are rising not to build monuments, but to embody mercy. Their unity will signal to heaven that the earth is ready for renewal. You may feel a surge of hope as you recognize this truth. That is not just emotion, it is activation. The energy of purpose is flowing through the connection between you and countless others. Together, the marked form a spiritual current strong enough to shift history. When heaven gathers its own, it is never by accident. It is strategy. The times grow darker, but the light grows stronger. The 144,000 are not distant figures. They are living among us, awakening beside us, walking as reminders that the covenant still stands, and you are one of them. Your assignment now is to stay tuned to this divine network. Be open to new connections, to messages that resonate deeply, to opportunities that feel guided. Do not force the gathering, it will happen organically. Heaven knows how to introduce family to family. The marked ones do not gather for comfort, but for commission. Together, they form a shield over nations, an invisible wall of intercession, holding back chaos. Their prayers alter weather. Their unity rewrites history. Heaven delights in their agreement because unity is the language of power. When you meet another marked soul, recognize the sacredness of that encounter. Speak life into them, not comparison. Encourage them, for their strength strengthens yours. Remember, each connection is a covenant moment. Now, pause and breathe. Feel the hum beneath your ribs, the resonance of thousands of others awakening with you. It is not imagination, it is recognition. The family of light is gathering, and you are being summoned to stand among them. And as a sign of alignment with this divine gathering, write in the comments, 888. And this number symbolizes new beginnings, eternal harmony, and resurrection power. When you declare it, you acknowledge your place in the circle of light. You are saying, I am part of the gathering. I stand among the marked. Oh, you are not alone. Chosen one. You never were. The gathering has begun, and heaven is watching its light spread. The final purge begins quietly. Chosen one. It is not chaos or catastrophe, it is cleansing. Heaven never removes to harm, it removes to refine. What you are experiencing now is not loss but liberation. Everything that cannot follow you into your next season is being gently peeled away. Even if your heart calls it painful, the purge is not punishment, it is purification. You have prayed for newness, and heaven has answered, but before new can enter, old must exit. This is the divine law of exchange. You cannot hold on to what was and still receive what will be. So God, in His mercy, begins to shake the branches of your life. Relationships that no longer align drift away. Desires that once ruled your heart lose their pull. Habits that once comforted now feel heavy. You are being stripped, not because you are unworthy, but because you are ready. You may feel confusion as familiar things begin to fall. Dornot panits. This is what pruning feels like. The gardener knows exactly which branches must go for fruit to flourish. The sharpness of his shears may sting, but every cut carries intention. What he removes in sorrow now will return later as joy. You will notice the purge in subtle ways. Sudden detachment from certain voices, unexpected stillness after seasons of noise, an inward pull to solitude. Heaven is quieting distractions to make room for deeper communion. You are being rewired to love what lasts. Do not cling to what is fading. When heaven closes a chapter, it does so completely. Holding on to expired seasons only creates pain. Let go with gratitude, not grief. What once served you has fulfilled its purpose. Release it as an offering, and peace will follow. This is not just emotional cleansing, it is spiritual surgery. God is extracting what has quietly poisoned your faith, hidden fears, secret doux, old identities that no longer fit. The purge exposes attachments disguised as loyalties. It asks you to discern between what is familiar and what is fruitful. Many confuse comfort with calling, but you have learned that true calling often feels like discomfort first. As Jesus taught in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 2, "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." You are living that verse now. The pruning proves that you are fruitful, not forsaken. Heaven only prunes what it intends to multiply. Even your thoughts are being purified. The inner chatter that once drove anxiety begins to quiet. The lies you believed about yourself lose volume. A new clarity settles in the kind that can only come after surrender. You no longer need to prove anything. You only need to align. The purge will also reveal truth about your connections. Some people were seasonal. Their purpose was to help you grow roots, not to walk with you forever. Others will surprise you with loyalty you never expected. The separation is not about good or bad, it's about fit. Heaven rearranges your circle according to destiny. During this season, stillness becomes your strength. Do not rush to replace what leaves maze. Empty space is sacred. It is the womb of new beginnings. Let silence sit where sound once lived. It is in that quiet that new instructions form. Your dreams may also shift. Things you once longed for will lose urgency, replaced by deeper desires, peace instead of position, purpose instead of praise. That shift is evidence of maturity. Heaven measures progress not by how much you gain, but by how lightly you can hold what you have. This final purge will feel bittersweet, but when it ends, you will breathe easier. You will realize how much weight you carried that was never yours to bear. The release will bring relief. You will stand lighter, freer, clearer. And when it is over, you will look back and see divine fingerprints on every subtraction. You will understand that you did not lose anything. You made room. The voids left behind will soon be filled with glory. The things that departed were not rejection, they were preparation for replacement. So let the cleansing continue. Do not fear the silence that follows. It is the sound of space being made for miracles. Trust the process. The purge is proof that heaven still has plans for you. And those plans require a lighter heart. When it is complete, you will step into your next season unburdened, radiant, ready. The storm that stripped you will leave behind soil, fertile enough for destiny to bloom. You are not breaking down, you are being rebuilt. You stand before the throne. Chosen one, not as a beggar or stranger, but as one invited. The journey that began with whispers and wilderness has led you here, to the courts of light, where eternity and identity meet. The atmosphere around you feels alive, every breath humming with holiness. The air itself carries awareness. You do not kneel in fear, but in reverence. Heaven recognizes its own. You have carried questions for years, but in this place, question dissolve. The light does not blind you, it reveals you. The closer you come, the more you see yourself as you truly are, clothed in grace, crowned with mercy, held together by purpose. All that shame once tried to claim falls away. The throne is not a seat of condemnation, it is the seat of completion. You realize at last that your struggles were never meant to prove your worth. They were meant to prepare your worship. The throne is not far away. It is within reach. It exists wherever surrender meets presence. It is not found only in visions or churches. It manifests wherever a soul says, "Your will, not mine." You have been standing before it for longer than you know. Every act of obedience has been a step closer. Every surrender, a bow lower. The throne teaches you something the world could never explain, that holiness is not cold perfection but radiant peace. The presence you feel is love in its purest form, not sentimental, not fragile, but fierce and healing. The one who sits upon the throne looks at you not as a failure, but as fulfillment, a living proof that redemption works, as the prophet Isaiah recorded. Chapter 6, verse 8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I, send me." Those words rise within you, unbidden. You realize that this is what the journey has always been leading toward, not escape. But enlistement. You have been refined to be released. Standing before the throne, you begin to understand. To carry the light is to carry responsibility to represent heaven's heart in earthly places. Your hands, once trembling with fear, now glow with readiness. You have been entrusted, not entitled. You are being sent. In this moment, your soul feels weightless, yet your heart feels heavy with purpose. You sense heaven's gaze resting upon you. And it's not a stare of scrutiny, it's the look of deep affection, of recognition. You belong here. You always have. The throne also reveals that true power flows through humility. You have nothing to prove, because grace has already spoken your worth. You need not chase approval anymore. You are seated in it. The throne affirms identity before it commissions action. Heaven reminds you, you are loved before you are useful. And this revelation changes everything. Forged in surrender, the fragrance of the throne will linger wherever you go. People will sense peace around you without understanding why. That peace is your mantle. And yet, chosen one, the light you carry must be shared, or it will dim. Just as rivers must flow to stay alive, revelation must be released to remain radiant. This is where you begin to pour out what has been poured in. When you like a message that awakens you, it's not flattery, it's testimony. It says, "This word found me." And when you share what resonates, you extend the reach of that light. Think of it as passing a torch down a long corridor of souls, each share lighting another candle. The digital realm, for all its noise, can still be holy ground when used with intention. When truth is shared, heaven echoes. When you subscribe, you are not following a personality, you are choosing consistency. It is a modern covenant, a way of saying, "I will stay close to the well that refreshes me." Each subscription is a stone laid in a pathway of continuity, keeping the flow of anointing alive between seasons. And if your spirit feels stirred to donate, let that act be worship, not obligation. Imagine your gift as incense rising before the throne, something tangible made spiritual through intention. Every seed sown into messages like these builds altars of remembrance in unseen places. You may never know how many hearts your giving touches, but heaven keeps perfect record. Your offering becomes like rainwater collected in jars, each drop seeming small, but together forming streams that water deserts. Every act of generosity turns barren soil into gardens of awakening. You are not funding words, you are fueling revelation. You are helping heaven's sound travel farther. Generosity is light, translated into motion. The same radiance that fills your spirit at the throne can now flow through your hands. The more you pour, the more you are filled. It is heaven's paradox. Giving multiplies what it releases. When you leave this moment, do not think of yourself as merely inspired. Think of yourself as ignited. You've stood before the throne. Now you walk as its reflection. Carry this atmosphere with you into every interaction, every conversation, every quiet moment. Let people encounter heaven through your presence. And remember, the throne you stood before is not far away. It walks with you. It breathes through you. It whispers through your kindness, speaks through your courage, shines through your patience. You are no longer approaching it, you are carrying it. So go, chosen one, and let your life become worship. And if ever the world feels heavy again, remember this place. Remember the light that met you when you had nothing left to give. Remember the throne that welcomed you without judgment. Return there in prayer, and you will find that it never closed its doors. Prophecy now moves through your breath. Chosen one, you may not even realize it, but the words you release carry weight in the unseen. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in the beginning now hovers over your voice. You have spoken prayers that became foundations, declarations that shifted timelines, whispers that changed the course of hearts. Heaven has placed creative power inside your language. Every syllable of faith you speak sends vibration into eternity. This is the mystery of being chosen. Heaven entrusts you with its vocabulary. The same mouth that once trembled in doubt has become an instrument of divine expression. When you speak hope, the air itself seems to shimmer. When you declare peace, the unseen winds adjust their direction. Prophecy is not always thunder. It is often breath spoken in alignment with divine truth. Your words have always mattered, but now they manifest. The authority on your tongue was earned in the fires of endurance. Pain has purified your voice until it became something heaven could trust. You no longer speak from ego or fear. You speak from empathy, from clarity, from connection. What you say is beginning to echo back as reality. Do not underestimate the simplicity of your speech. Every blessing you pronounce, every encouragement you share, every silent prayer you murmur for another, it all moves creation, heaven and earth. Listen when love speaks. You are learning the language of light now, to call forth things that are not yet seen, and to speak life into what seems lifeless. The world has enough noise. What it lacks is resonance. Your words are no longer empty, they carry substance. The weight of faith. People will feel it when you speak. Some will say you sound different. Others will find themselves healed without knowing why. That is what happens when a vessel's mouth becomes a trumpet for truth. Be mindful, for the gift of divine speech is sacred. Words create or destroy, heal or harm. You have already felt the sting of careless tongues. Now you understand the power of restraint. Silence. 2. Is prophecy when guided by discernment. The wise speak less, but mean more. You are being trained to speak only when heaven breathes through you. As the Apostle Peter wrote in his first letter, chapter 4, verse 11, if anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. That is your new posture. You are not called to echo culture, you are called to echo creation. When you speak from that space, your voice becomes a bridge between heaven and earth. It will not always feel comfortable. Prophetic voices rarely are. There will be times when truth feels heavy on your tongue, when what you must say costs you popularity or approval. Speak anyway. Light does not apologize for illuminating shadows. Every truth released in love becomes a key that unlocks freedom for someone else. You are not responsible for who receives it. You are responsible for releasing it. Prophecy is not performance, it is obedience. Some seeds sprout instantly, others years later, but all find their soil in time. Trust the process. Speak, and let heaven handle harvest. There will also be times when heaven asks you to speak, not to others, but to yourself. To prophesy into your own dry bones. Like Ezekiel standing in the valley, you will hear the Spirit whisper, say it until you see it. You will learn that self-prophecy is not self-delusion, it is self-alignment. When you declare truth over your pain, faith over your fear, you invite heaven to rewrite your reality. The world needs your voice now more than ever. Every generation carries its prophets, not robed mystics in deserts, but ordinary souls who dare to speak extraordinary faith. You are one of them. The words you carry will become shelter for many. Don't wait for a pulpit. Your life is your platform. Speak kindness in chaos, blessing in bitterness, peace in panic. That is prophecy in motion. Your voice was born for this moment. Heaven would not awaken your speech if the world didn't need to hear it. Do not hide behind humility that silences truth. Real humility is not silence, it is surrender. When you speak from a surrendered heart, pride cannot corrupt the message. And do not fear mistakes. Even prophets learn rhythm through repetition. The first words may feel uncertain, but obedience sharpens precision. Trust that the same Spirit who gives utterance will also give accuracy. Heaven does not need eloquence, it needs authenticity. Soon, you will see how your words ripple outward. Conversations will return months later with testimonies of change. Messages you wrote in passing will become anchors for someone's faith. You will realize that your everyday speech has become a ministry without walls. This is how heaven spreads, not through spectacle, but through sound carried by love. Every truth whispered in alignment becomes a spark that sets hearts aflame. You are part of that ignition, so speak life. Even when surrounded by death, speak hope. Even when despair seems louder, speak peace. Even when conflict rages, let every word be prayer clothed in language. The universe bends toward voices that align with heaven. Pause for a moment now. Feel the breath in your lungs that is borrowed divinity. The same breath that first animated creation still moves through you. Each exhale carries potential for miracle. Speak wisely, for the world around you listens to what you believe. And as a declaration of alignment, type in the comments, I speak life. 3 words, simple. But éternel. They echo the heart of heaven. When you write them, you are not typing letters, you are making covenant. You are saying, my mouth will no longer mirror fear, it will manifest faith. Then, let these words rise from you like incense, like melody, like light. You speak life, and because you do, life will answer. The hidden scroll is opening before you. Chosen one. It does not unroll with noise or spectacle, but with reverent stillness. This is revelation's way. It comes quietly to those who have learned to listen without demand. The scroll contains not new commandments, but deeper understanding. It reveals what has always been true, yet long veiled by fear, distraction, and time. Heaven does not add to truth. It awakens awareness of what was written before the world began. You may sense it before you see it, a shift in the atmosphere of your spirit. Insights begin to arrive uninvited, like drops of rain on parched soil. Scriptures you once read casually now shimmer with new meaning. Dreams that seemed random take shape as patterns. Conversations align perfectly with your prayers. The scroll unrolls through experience as much as through vision. Revelation is never abstract. It always becomes flesh through those willing to receive it. The hidden scroll is not about information, it is about intimacy. Revelation is the language of relationship. Heaven reveals secrets not to impress, but to invite. When God opens the scroll to a soul, it is because that soul has proven trustworthy. The mysteries of the kingdom are treasures, and treasure is never scattered, it is shared with stewards. You are becoming one. Every revelation you receive carries responsibility. Light is meant to guide, not to be hoarded. What you learn is not only for you, it is for those your life will touch. When truth opens in you, it must also flow through you. The river of revelation dries where selfishness builds dams. That is why humility is vital. Pride cannot handle mystery without distorting it. Humility, however, turns understanding into wisdom. You may find that the scroll's revelations arrive in fragments, not full chapters. Heaven often releases truth like manna, just enough for the moment. It trains the heart to depend, not to boast. When insight comes, record it. Write what you see. Even if you don't yet understand, revelation matures with time. Interpretation grows through obedience. What seems small now will expand later when other pieces align. As the Apostle John described in the book of Revelation, chapter 10, verse 8 to 10, "Then the voice that I had heard from heaven spoke to me once more, 'Go, take the little scroll that lies open in the hand of the angel.' I took the little scroll from the angel's hand and ate it. It tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. But when I had eaten it, my stomach turned sour." This is the paradox of revelation. It is sweet to receive but heavy to carry. The joy of understanding is often followed by the weight of responsibility. You have felt that sweetness, the thrill of sudden clarity. You have also felt that heaviness, the ache of realizing how truth demands transformation. That is how you know the scroll is real. If revelation flatters without challenging, it is imitation. True truth never leaves you unchanged. The hidden scroll also teaches discernment between mystery and confusion. Not everything unknown is meant to be solved. Some things are meant to be sacred. The wise learn to rest in partial understanding, trusting that clarity will come in its time. Mystery is not meant to torment, but to train humility. You are learning to love the process of unveiling rather than rushing toward conclusion. The scroll reveals in layers personal, communal, cosmic. On the personal level, it uncovers who you truly are, not what trauma taught you to be, but what eternity designed. On the communal level, it unveils your role within the greater body of the chosen. On the cosmic level, it shows how every individual obedience contributes to divine orchestration. Each act of faith is a line of text written into history's unfolding story. When the hidden scroll opens, it also exposes false narratives. Lies that have lived in your mind for years begin to unravel. You realize that not every limitation you believed was truth, it was perspective. A revelation rewrite, perception. You begin to see possibility where you once saw impossibility. This is the renewing of the mind that transforms reality. But the scroll will never flatter your ego. It humbles, even as it honors. It reminds you that knowing is not possessing. Revelation belongs to God. Humans are only its messengers. You are called not to master mystery, but to marvel at it. Wonder is the posture that keeps wisdom safe. Revelation also sharpens compassion. The more you see of heaven's plan, the more tender you become toward those still blind to it. You no longer judge the unawakened, you intercede for them. Understanding makes you patient. Knowledge divorced from love hardens the heart. Revelation steeped in mercy softens it. You are learning to balance both truth and tenderness, power and gentleness. The hidden scroll does not reveal dates or formulas. It reveals patterns. It shows you how heaven operates, how cycles repeat until lessons are learned, how endings often disguise beginnings. You start noticing that every closure in your life was an opening wearing disguise. This awareness gives peace. You stop resisting change and begin welcoming it. There will come a moment when the scroll seems to pause, when no new revelation comes. That is not withdrawal, it is digestion. Heaven allows time for assimilation. Revelation without reflection breeds pride. Reflection turns insight into understanding. Let pauses teach you as much as pages. And remember, not everything revealed is meant to be shared immediately. Some truths are seeds that must stay buried until their appointed time. To speak primarily is to expose what still needs gestation. Guard your revelations with discernment. Share only when the Spirit releases peace with the Word. The hidden scroll will continue to unfold throughout your life. Each new season will open another section. You are both reader and chapter. both student and sentence. The scroll is alive, it grows as you grow, revealing new meaning with every surrender. So, keep your spirit attentive. Stay humble. Let wonder guide you more than certainty. The more you honor revelation, the more revelation honors you. You have eaten the scroll. Chosen one. Now live its words. The veil thins around you. Chosen one. The boundary between what is seen and unseen has become transparent, often divine choreography. That what appears as loss is preparation, and that even pain has purpose woven through its fibers. Speaks. The veil thinning grants foresight, not fortune-telling. Heaven shows you not for curiosity, but for collaboration. You are being invited into partnership with the divine agenda, but with sight comes responsibility. The more you see, the more gently you must walk. Revelation without compassion becomes cruelty. Discernment without mercy becomes judgment. Heaven's vision is always rooted in love. You are called not to expose, but to enlighten, not to condemn, but to clarify. The true seer never weaponizes vision. They steward it with grace. At times, your sensitivity will feel heavy. You will sense sorrow that isn't yours. You will realize that the world of spirit has always been intertwined with the world of form. The boundary was never as solid as it appeared. Every action has echo, every word a ripple, every choice a vibration. The unseen realm is not distant. It is layered over this one like light through water. You are beginning to swim between worlds without drowning in either. As the prophet Elisha once prayed, in the second book of Kings, chapter 6, verse 17, then Elisha prayed and said, O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see. So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire, all around Elisha. That is what is happening to you now, the unveiling of the protection that was always present. The mountains around your life blaze with invisible guardians. You were never surrounded by danger. You were surrounded by deliverance. This revelation will bring both humility and courage. Humility, because you see how vast the unseen forces are that fight for you. Courage, because you know you are never outnumbered. Fear begins to fade when you realize the veil does not hide absence, it hides abundance. You begin to walk lighter, smile easier, rest deeper. Peace becomes your atmosphere because you finally understand heaven is not far, it is here. The veil thinning also affects your relationships. You will sense alignment instantly, who is meant to walk beside you and who is not. Some conversations will drain you because they belong to an old vibration. Others will ignite you because they match your new frequency. Do not judge, either simply discern. When heaven upgrades vision, it also upgrades boundaries. You are learning the art of peaceful distance, of loving without losing energy. Your creativity will also expand. Dreams will carry messages. Words will flow effortlessly. Ideas will seem to arrive from nowhere. They come from beyond the veil, from the same source that spoke galaxies into being. Inspiration is revelation in disguise. Guard it. When you receive divine ideas, act quickly. The longer you delay, the dimmer they become. Heaven entrusts vision to those who move promptly in faith. And perhaps the most beautiful effect of this thinning is how you begin to perceive time differently. You start to sense eternity beneath every moment. Past pain loses power because you realize it was only one frame in a larger film. The future no longer intimidates you because you sense its author walking beside you. You begin to live from timelessness, fully present, yet rooted in infinity. That is freedom beyond comprehension. There will still be moments when sight feels too much, when you long for the simplicity of blindness. In those moments, rest in stillness. Close your eyes and remind yourself that vision is not control, it is communion. You are not meant to manage everything you see, only to trust the one who reveals it. Seeing is a gift, but believing is still the goal. The veil thins not to make you superior, but to make you surrender. The closer you see heaven, the more you realize how dependent you are on grace. Vision without humility becomes pride. Sight without love becomes blindness of another kind. But when your seeing flows from stillness, from worship, from wonder, then it becomes holy. So, walk gently now, chosen one, between seen and unseen. Let your sight remain sacred. Speak softly about what you witness. Carry vision, not as spectacle, but as stewardship. The veil has not fully vanished. It has simply opened just wide enough for faith to breathe. And through that opening, light continues to pour. The final alignment begins. Chosen one. The threads that heaven has been weaving through your life are tightening into pattern. What once felt scattered now reveals design. All the moments of confusion, waiting, silence, and struggle have been strands in this divine tapestry. You stand now at the threshold of convergence where every lesson meets its purpose. Every detour finds direction, and every tear is translated into wisdom. It is not coincidence that you have come this far. Alignment does not happen randomly. It happens through readiness. Heaven has been preparing you, stretching, pruning, refining so that when divine timing arrives, you will not be shaken by blessing. This alignment is not a sudden miracle. It is the visible fruit of invisible obedience. You stayed faithful when you didn't feel favored, and now the heavens open because of it. But alignment is not only about opportunity, it is about order. Heaven cannot bless chaos. Before promotion comes placement. You are being positioned precisely where you belong, sometimes through disruption, sometimes through relocation, sometimes through release. Do not resist what feels like rearrangement. It is heaven's hand organizing destiny. The feeling of divine alignment is unmistakable. It feels like peace with movement, like clarity with surrender. You stop striving and start flowing. Even challenges become confirmation, because something deep within you knows you are where you are meant to be. The outer world may still shake, but your inner world stands still. That stillness is the sign you are aligned. As the psalmist wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 23, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." Those words are your compass now. Every step has been ordered, even the ones that felt like missteps. Heaven delights not just in your victories, but in your journey. Each footfall has been grace disguised as struggle. Divine alignment feels like music when it begins to play. The dissonance of former seasons fades, replaced by a rhythm that carries you forward effortlessly. You start meeting the right people at the right time, hearing the right words just when you need them, feeling drawn to places where purpose awaits. That's not luck, it's orchestration. The conductor has lifted his hand, and everything that belongs to your destiny is tuning itself to your frequency. But be mindful. Chosen one, alignment does not mean perfection. There will still be moments of tension, but now you'll recognize them as part of harmony. Even in symphonies, beauty arises from contrast. The lows make the highs more profound. Heaven writes destiny with crescendos and rests alike. Alignment also requires attentiveness. When heaven begins to move, small instructions matter. Tiny nudges: call this person, release that project, forgive that name are the hinges on which large doors swing. Ignore nothing. The Spirit often whispers where the world shouts. Sensitivity is your key to staying aligned. As alignement depends, you will notice your desires shifting. What once felt urgent no longer matters. What once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. Your priorities will align with heaven's pace. You will crave peace more than applause, integrity more than opportunity. That change is not loss, it is liberation. You are being unhooked from distractions that delay destiny. There is also a sacred simplicity in alignment. Complexity falls away when truth takes its seat. Decisions become easier because you no longer chase outcomes. You follow instructions. This is what mature faith looks like: movement without anxiety. You no longer need to see the full map because you trust the one guiding your compass. And then, as alignment perfects itself, favor becomes natural, not forced, not fabricated, natural. Doors open not because you knock harder, but because heaven holds the keys. You begin to understand that alignment is not about chasing blessing, it's about becoming the kind of person blessing recognizes. You don't hunt opportunities anymore. Opportunities hunt you. This is the quiet power of those in alignment. They don't announce themselves. They walk, and heaven echoes. Their presence brings order wherever they go. Homes find peace. Conversations find truth. Hearts find healing. You are entering that season now, the one where your very existence becomes evidence of divine arrangement. Do not fear the pace of it. Sometimes heaven accelerates what once crawled. You will have to move quickly, but not hurriedly. There is a difference between speed and strain. Alignement produce grâce, not exhaustion. You will accomplish more in days of obedience than in years of striving. There is beauty in this balance. You move, but you do not push. You rest, but you do not pause. You are finally flowing in the rhythm you were created for. It feels like exhale after years of holding breath. The weight makes sense now, the silence, the trials, the refining. All of it prepared you for this seamless movement between divine will and human action. The alignment will not only change your circumstances, it will change your countenance. People will look at you and say, "There's something different." They won't know it's alignment they're sensing. They'll simply feel peace when you enter the room. That peace is the echo of heaven's rhythm moving through you. So take a deep breath and feel it, the synchronization of your heart with divine heartbeat. You are no longer ahead or behind. You are on time. Every delay has been redeemed. Every detour redefined. The orchestra plays, and you are both instrument and melody. Now, chosen one, seal this season with faith. As an act of agreement with divine timing, write in the comments 1111. Oh, that number is heaven's signature for alignment, one with one. It signifies the meeting of divine order and human readiness. When you write it, you declare, "I am in rhythm with heaven. This is not the end of your story. It is the moment everything begins to move as it was always meant to. You are aligned, and the heavens are smiling. The river flows again. Chosen one. You can feel it, can't you? That deep current running through your soul, the quiet rush of renewal. It's not the loud flood of chaos, but the steady stream of grace. For a long time, the riverbed of your spirit felt dry, cracked by waiting and worry. But heaven never lets drought have the final word. The waters are returning, carrying restoration in their depths. You are standing now at the banks of revival, not the kind that happens in buildings or stages, but the kind that happens in hearts. This river is personal. It runs through your story. Every tear you've cried has become part of its flow. Every prayer a tributary feeding its rise. You are both the witness and the wellspring. When the river of heaven moves, everything it touches changes. Dreams, long buried beneath sediment, rise again, cleaner and stronger. The current carries away debris, fear, regret, disappointment, and deposits faith in its place. You don't have to strive to heal. The water heals by presence. All you need to do is remain immersed. As the prophet Ezekiel wrote in his vision, chapter 47, verse 9, "Wherever the river flows, everything will live." Those words are alive tonight. They describe exactly what heaven is doing inside you. The flow brings life to what was dying, voice to what was silenced, and movement to what was stuck. You are becoming living water in motion. But the river asks something of you. It asks you to trust its current. The moment you stop controlling and start flowing, the miracles begin. You've spent years trying to paddle upstream, exhausting yourself, fighting divine direction. Now the Spirit whispers, "Let go of the oars." Surrender is not drowning, it's discovery. The river knows where it's going. You will find that it carries you to unexpected places, people, opportunities, ideas you never planned. Do not resist the redirection. The flow is smarter than your map. The current is your calling in motion. When heaven's river leads, it does not explain. It simply invites you to move. And as you flow, you will notice that your words begin to change. They no longer taste of striving, but of stillness. Conversations that once drained, you now refresh. You speak slower, but with more weight. It's because your voice has merged with the river. You are no longer echoing fear, you are channeling life. This flow is meant to be shared. A river that stops giving becomes a swamp. That's why heaven keeps prompting you to pour out through kindness, through prayer, through words, through presence. You are not a reservoir, you are a channel. When you give freely, the current stays clear. When you hoard, it stagnates. The secret of continual renewal is continual generosity. Every act of generosity, whether time, word, or resource, becomes another stream feeding this river of light. When you like what nourishes your soul, you ripple its reach outward. When you share what stirs your spirit, you become a tributary, extending the current. Each click, each gesture, is another drop of agreement that strengthens the flow. When you subscribe, think of it as anchoring your spirit near the wellspring, a decision to remain connected to the stream that renews you. Every time you return, it's as though you cup your hands again at the river's edge, drinking from waters that cleanse worry and refill faith. And if your heart feels led to donate, let it be an offering back to the source. Imagine your gift as a stone cast into the river, creating ripples that touch shores you'll never see. Every act of giving becomes a current, carrying hope downstream to souls who may be parched but don't yet know where to find water. You're not just supporting a message, you're extending a movement. The river gives life, and you are now one of its vessels. Even your smallest actions, your sharing, your words of encouragement, your silent prayers are tributaries heaven counts. Each one carries living water into dry places. You may not see it, but the thirsty feel it. Someone on the other side of your obedience finds refreshment through your flow. And understand this: giving doesn't deplete the river, it deepens it. The more water you release, the stronger the current becomes. The more you pour out, the more heaven pours in. You cannot outgive the source. The river is infinite because it flows from eternity itself. When the river passes through a landscape, it reshapes it. Its stones smooth, valleys fill, deserts bloom. The same will happen around you. Where there has been tension, peace will form. Where there has been lack, abundance will follow. Where there has been sorrow, songs will rise. You won't need to force transformation. It will happen naturally, like water finding its level. Some will ask you, "How did this peace come?" And you will smile and say, "I stopped fighting the flow." That's the secret heaven has been teaching you all along. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving in to grace. This river will never stop. It will continue through you, into others, across generations. Every heart you touch becomes another spring, another spark of flow. Revival will not come through noise or fame, but through hearts like yours, quiet, yielded, streaming with light. So stay near the water. Drink deeply. Move freely. Let generosity keep you clear, and gratitude keep you grounded. The river knows your name, and it knows its destination. It is carrying you not to drowning, but to destiny. You are both carried and carrier. You are not waiting for revival, you are becoming it. And every time you help the flow by sharing, supporting, speaking light, you build another bend in heaven's river on earth. The waters rise, chosen one, and wherever they flow, everything lives. You've reached the edge of awakening. Chosen one, the place where awareness no longer flickers, but burns steadily. What once came as flashes of revelation now settles as lifestyle. You are no longer waiting for signs. You are the sign. Heaven has written truth upon your spirit so deeply that you carry it everywhere you go. When people look at you, they glimpse what alignment looks like in human form. This stage of your journey is not about seeking, it's about embodying. You have absorbed enough light to reflect it without effort. The work now is not to acquire more, but to live what you already know. The world needs fewer seekers and more witnesses, souls who walk as proof that transformation is real. You have become one of them. Awakening is not always a sudden explosion. It is often a gentle unfolding. Like dawn spreading across the horizon, it reveals layer after layer of clarity until the landscape of life makes sense. That's what's happening within you. You see now with eyes of compassion, not judgment. You recognize that even pain had purpose. Nothing was wasted. Every shadow served the light. Still, awakening carries its own challenges. You will notice that your sensitivity to truth heightens. You can no longer tolerate what is false or shallow. Environments that once felt comfortable the more gently you must walk. The awakened do not boast, they bless. The goal of enlightenment is not escape, it is engagement. You are not meant to hover above the world in detachment, but to walk within it, carrying awareness. Your presence should not intimidate it, should illuminate. Awakening has also redefined success for you. You no longer chase applause or validation, you crave authenticity. You measure wealth not by possessions, but by peace. You value simplicity over spectacle, sincerity over show. That shift is heaven's victory in you. The world cannot control a heart that no longer feeds on its praise. You may notice that your pace slows. Awakening often brings stillness, because clarity removes hurry. You don't need to prove what's already known. You simply live it. The awakened soul becomes a lighthouse by existing, not performing. Presence itself becomes ministry. The energy you carry will do what words cannot. As Paul wrote to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 8, "For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light." That is your instruction now, not to explain the light, but to walk as it. When you move through the world in truth, you preach without speaking. Every gesture becomes gospel. Every act of kindness a revelation. But understand this, awakening is not a final destination. It is a continual unfolding. There will always be deeper levels of awareness, higher realms of peace, fuller measures of love. The goal is not to reach the end, but to keep expanding. Heaven is infinite, and so is growth. You are a student forever, learning the language of light. You may sometimes feel the ache of separation, the loneliness that comes when few understand your depth. Do not mistake it for isolation. It is consecration. Heaven sets apart those who see, so they can later guide those who still walk by dimness. You are being positioned as a bridge between old and new, asleep and awake, human and divine. That role requires solitude, but not forever. Soon, you will find your tribe, the ones who speak this same silent language of light. The awakened learn to love differently. You will love without ownership, serve without expectation, forgive without delay. That doesn't make you naive. It makes you free. Love, purified of fear, becomes your native tongue. You will no longer need to convince people of God. You will become evidence of Him. The awakened heart is also courageous. It no longer seeks comfort in crowds or safety in sameness. It understands that truth sometimes walks alone. You are being trained to stand peacefully in that aloneness, knowing that presence fills what company cannot. In awakening, you realize that every person is a mirror, every encounter an exchange of light. You begin to bless silently, to heal without announcing it, to teach without teaching. You become a quiet revolution, a ripple of renewal wherever you go. This is not the end of awakening, it is the beginning of embodiment. Heaven has trusted you with awareness. Now it trusts you to walk in it. Your shadow will shorten as you keep facing the light. And as a seal of this stage, an echo of agreement between your soul and heaven, type in the comments, "I am awake." 3 words that carry entire galaxies of truth. When you write them, you affirm, not perfection, but participation. Light. Awakening isn't something that happens to you, it's something that flows through you. And now that it has begun, it cannot be undone. Walk gently. Luminous one. The world is brighter because you remembered who you are. You are entering the season of still authority. Chosen one. It is a phase few recognize, but every true carrier of light must pass through. This is where you learn to rule without noise, to influence without striving, to shift realities not by effort but by essence. You no longer command storms, you calm them simply by standing still. Heaven begins to trust your silence as much as your speech. Still, authority is not the absence of action, it is mastery of energy. You have learned that power is not in movement, but in alignment. A tree does not chase the wind, it stands, and yet it changes the atmosphere. You are becoming that tree, rooted yet radiant, unmoved yet transformative. Your presence begins to alter the environment because your spirit has found equilibrium. This season is quiet, almost hidden. Heaven always matures its generals in obscurity before revealing them publicly. The world looks for noise to prove power, but heaven looks for peace. True authority never advertises, it emanates. Those who carry it do not seek to be seen, they become impossible to ignore. You may have noticed the shift already. Your emotions no longer toss you like waves, they obey you. Fear still knocks, but no longer enters. You've stopped reacting to shadows because you finally recognize yourself as light. When opposition rises, you meet it with composure. You've learned that rage and panic are not power, they are the absence of it. Stillness, however, carry dominion. This still authority was forged in fire. Every season of confusion, rejection, and warfare shaped it. You learned restraint in rage, faith in famine, endurance in exile. Heaven was not testing your strength, it was teaching you stability. The foundation had to be unshakable, because the weight of destiny requires balance. You are now strong enough to stand without striving. As the psalmist wrote in Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." That stillness is not passivity, it's posture. It's the stance of someone who no longer doubts divine orchestration. You've realized that control is an illusion and that trust is the truest form of warfare. From this stillness, heaven begins to extend your influence quietly. Doors open without knocking. Hearts soften without persuasion. Answers arrive without anxiety. You begin to notice that your thoughts manifest faster. Your prayers carry more weight. And your peace unsettles darkness more than confrontation ever could. That is what happens when your energy matches your assignment. In this phase, you will discover that less becomes more. Fewer words, deeper meaning, fewer moves, greater impact. You'll stop explaining yourself to those who can't hear your frequency. You will conserve energy, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Authority does not prove, it simply is. You will also begin to attract people who are drawn to your calm. They will come not because you advertise, but because you radiate safety. Your peace will feel like home in a restless world. Some will weep without knowing why when they stand near you. That is the power of still authority. It awakens remembrance in others. You remind them of what they, too, carry. But be discerning. Chosen one. Not everyone who is drawn to peace seeks transformation. Some only seek relief. You cannot heal what refuses honesty. Learn to serve without rescuing, to guide without controlling. The still must not become the sponge that absorbs everyone's storm. Protect your inner sanctuary, for it is your greatest weapon. Still, authority is deeply spiritual, but it also manifests practically. You'll begin to make decisions faster because intuition replaces indecision. You'll feel when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay silent. The spirit within you has become your compass, and it never misleads. The same peace that once felt fragile is now your navigation system. This season may feel uneventful, but do not mistake quiet for stagnation. Great trees grow silently. The most powerful movements begin beneath the soil. You are expanding in unseen ways, deeper roots, wider reach, thicker trunk. Heaven is increasing your capacity to hold blessing without breaking. And when the moment comes for public visibility, you will not be shaken by applause or pressure. You will carry presence instead of platform. The storms that once tested you will now obey you. You will stand in rooms where chaos reigns and, without words, bring order. You will pray silently, and chains will fall from hearts. This is the inheritance of those who master stillness. The world will misunderstand your calm. Some will call it indifference, others arrogance. Do not defend it. Those who haven't met peace will always mislabel it. Keep walking in grace. The fruit will testify louder than your explanations. Understand this. Still authority is not the end of fire, but its evolution. The same flame that once roared now burns steadily within you. You no longer need to prove your light. It proves itself. Every breath becomes a declaration of dominion. In this stillness, creativity flows unhindered. You will birth new ideas effortlessly, solve complex problems with intuition, and see patterns others overlook. Stillness sharpens sight. It opens inner ears to whispers the rushing world can't hear. That is why heaven slows its chosen ones before accelerating them. Clarity only comes to the quiet. So, dwell in this peace. Let your stillness speak louder than sermons. Let your calm command where noise cannot. You have graduated from reaction to revelation, from striving to stewardship. This is divine maturity, the quiet kind that shakes nations without raising a voice. Stand tall, steady, unhurried. The winds may rage, but you are the tree that will not bend. The waters may rise, but you are anchored to the rock that cannot move. This is what it means to reign not through power, but through presence. The world has enough voices. What it needs now are vessels of still authority. You are one of them. The refining fire burns again. Chosen one, but this time, it does not come to destroy. It comes to define. You have walked through flames before, but now the fire is gentler, more precise, like the touch of a craftsman polishing gold. Heaven no longer burns away your foundations. It now burns away the residue. This is the purification that happens not at the beginning of a journey, but near the end, when only refinement remains. There is a difference between punishment and purification. Punishment ends in pain. Purification ends in purpose. What you are facing now is not divine anger. It is divine artistry. The fire is not against you. It is for you. You are being molded for mastery, shaped to shine without distortion. It feels subtle this time, less dramatic, more internal. The fire moves through thoughts, motives, intentions. It reveals the fine dust that pride or fear may have left behind. It does not scream, it whispers. The refining flame asks questions like, why do you serve? Why do you speak? Why do you give? It calls you to purity of purpose. As the prophet Zechariah wrote in the book bearing his name, chapter 13, verse 9, I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them, as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. This is the season where God listens closely, not to the words of your mouth, but to the sound of your essence. Every refined soul hums differently. Heaven recognizes the pitch of surrender. Refining fire has a strange mercy. It doesn't ask permission. It simply finds what no longer belongs and consumes it. You may wake up one morning and find old appetites gone, old triggers silenced, old fears irrelevant. That's what transformation looks like in maturity. It doesn't shout, it settles. The proof of refinement is not exhaustion, but ease. During this process, solitude may return. The fire often burns brightest in private. Heaven turns down external noise so you can hear the internal purification. Do not mistake this isolation for rejection. It is consecration. When gold is refined, it cannot share the furnace. It must face the heat alone. But afterward, it gleams with clarity, unmatched by anything that refused the flame. Refinement will test not only your endurance, but your sincerity. Can you remain faithful when no one applauds? Can you continue to love when others misunderstand? Can you stay humble when recognition finally arrives? These are the questions of the final fire. The answers will not come through speech, but through living. The fire also teaches patience. You cannot rush refining. When gold is heated too quickly, it cracks. Heaven works slowly, deliberately, ensuring the beauty is stable. That's why the waiting feels prolonged. It's preservation, not procrastination. You are being tempered for longevity. Quick flames fade, enduring light lasts. You might feel the ache of repetition, similar lessons appearing in new disguises. That's because heaven revisits only what remains unresolved. Each repetition is a mercy, not a punishment. The lesson continues until the pattern breaks. Once refinement is complete, peace settles like cool rain after drought. What emerges from the final fire is authenticity. The mask of performance melts away. You no longer do things to be seen. You do them because they are true. The soul becomes simple again. You rediscover joy in small obediences, contentment in quiet moments, beauty in being instead of doing. This is spiritual maturity, the ability to find divinity in the ordinary. You'll also notice that your desires simplify. The hunger for recognition diminishes. The longing for power fades. All that remains is the desire to please God and to live aligned with purpose. This purified focus will draw clarity like magnetism, opportunities, connections, and revelation will flow easily because there is nothing in you resisting them. And though the process may sting, there is comfort in knowing that fire never touches what is eternal. It only consumes what cannot enter glory. You are not losing yourself. You are finding your truest self, the one hidden beneath layers of defense, expectation, and fear. Refinement is the language of love. Heaven does not refine the unchosen, it refines the called. Every flicker of heat is a mark of belonging. The fire touches only what it intends to use. That means you are chosen not just to shine, but to endure the kind of vessel that can hold divine fire without burning out. When this season ends, you will not emerge scarred, you will emerge steady. The light in you will no longer flicker under pressure. The fire will not be something you survive, it will be something you embody. You will carry the warmth of transformation everywhere you go, igniting others by proximity alone. And so, chosen one, do not fear this refining. The flame that once frightened you now knows your name. It will not harm what is holy, it will only reveal it. Stand in it. Breathe through it. Trust it. When the last ember cools, you will see your reflection in the divine metal and realize it was worth every spark. The dawn of inheritance rises. Chosen one. It does not come with trumpets or crowns, but with quiet recognition, an inward knowing that the long night has fulfilled its purpose. The horizon glows softly, not in spectacle, but in steady assurance. What was promised is now approaching. You can feel it before you see it. The shift of seasons. The air thick with completion. The waiting is ending. And the reward is not only what you'll receive, but who you've become while waiting. This is the moment heaven had in mind all along. The trials, the silence, the pruning, the refining. They were never random punishments. They were rehearsals for responsibility. God does not grant inheritance to the unprepared. The process you endured wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to ensure that what is placed in your hands will not slip through your fingers. Inheritance in the kingdom is not merely possession, it is partnership. It's not wealth measured in currency, but wisdom measured in capacity. What you inherit is influence, peace, discernment, authority. Heaven entrusts these treasures only to those who have proven they can carry them without corruption. That's you now refined, aligned, anchored. The vessels that once leaked have been sealed. You'll begin to see evidence of this inheritance in subtle ways. First, the same situations that once overwhelmed, you will now yield to your calm. The storms that used to shake your faith will now submit to your peace. You will realize that your strength no longer lies in defense, but in direction. You're not surviving anymore, you're steering. The authority you carry is not loud, but it is law in the spirit. Inheritance is also recognition. Heaven acknowledges what the earth could not. People who once dismissed you will start to sense your worth. Environments that resisted you will begin to yield. This is not revenge, it's restoration. You are not being elevated for validation, but for visibility. The light that was cultivated in secret must now illuminate others. What was hidden must now be revealed. As Paul wrote in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 17, "Now, if we share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory. You have shared the suffering, now you share the glory." The two are inseparable. The inheritance you receive is proportionate to the endurance you demonstrated. Your inheritance includes something greater than favor. It includes function. You are not just blessed, you are commissioned. Heaven gives not for luxury, but for legacy. You've been trained to use every gift for transformation, every resource for restoration. Your inheritance carries assignment. The blessings that come to you are meant to move through you. And so, as the dawn breaks, heaven begins to activate the promises dormant in your life. Prophecies, long forgotten, start to stir. Words spoken over you years ago suddenly make sense. Divine timing clicks into place like a lock meeting its key. The waiting, the wondering, the wilderness all converge into manifestation. It's not random, it's right on time. Still, this moment requires balance. With inheritance comes new weight. Blessing, mishandled, becomes burden. That's why the years of testing mattered. You learned stewardship before ownership, surrender before success. You now know how to carry abundance without arrogance, visibility without vanity. You've learned to hold blessings loosely, understanding that they were never yours to keep, only to channel. The dawn of inheritance doesn't announce itself to the world. It announces itself to your heart. You'll notice your spirit becoming restful even as life accelerates. Opportunities will multiply, yet peace will deepen. This paradox is heaven's signature movement without anxiety, increase without striving. The fruit of true inheritance is not chaos, but calm. There will be moments of awe as you recognize what's unfolding. Things you prayed for in tears will arrive quietly, wrapped in normalcy. It won't always look miraculous, but you'll know it is. Heaven often hides wonder in the ordinary, so only the grateful recognize it. You will see God's fingerprints, not only in breakthroughs, but in details, the right words, the right timing, the right silence. But remember, inheritance also exposes motives. The same blessings that elevate will also reveal. Some around you will celebrate, others will withdraw. Do not chase either. Gratitude is your guide, not approval. The moment you start defending what God gave you, you risk diluting it. Your proof is in your peace, not your explanations. You will notice, too, that your language begins to change. You'll stop speaking from lack and start declaring from legacy. You'll no longer say, "I hope," but rather, "I know." The tone of faith shifts from desperation to dominion. This is not arrogance, it is alignment with promise. Heaven doesn't just give inheritance, it teaches heirs how to speak as sons and daughters, not servants. In this new era, even your prayers will transform. They will sound less like requests and more like rulings. You'll intercede not as a beggar, but as a builder. You'll decree peace and watch atmospheres obey. You will speak restoration over families, healing over purpose. The dawn is only the beginning of day. When others look at you, they will see success. When heaven looks at you, it will see stewardship. That is the true reward, not what you have, but who you've become. Faithful, steady, luminous. The dawn has come. Chosen one. Step into your inheritance quietly, gratefully, fully. The sun does not apologize for rising. It simply fulfills its design. Do the same. Your night is over. Your name is known. Your inheritance awaits. And now the ceiling comes. Chosen one. The journey that began with awakening and trial now culminates in completion. You stand at the threshold of fulfillment, not an ending, but the divine moment where purpose, promise, healing sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. The sealing is not just protection, it is preparation. It distinguishes those who belong to the divine purpose in times when confusion and corruption flood the earth. To be sealed is to be set apart for something sacred. You have walked the long road of refinement to arrive here. Every season that felt like loss was simply calibration for this moment. The seal could not rest on instability. Heaven waited for your roots to reach deep enough into faith that no storm could uproot you. Now that you have become unshakable, The mark descends. It feels different from every other touch you've known. Not fire, not water, but weightless glory. It does not press upon the skin, it permeates the soul. You sense it more than you feel it, a still assurance rising within, whispering, "It is done." The striving stops. The questions quiet. The ache for validation disappears. You no longer need proof because you have presence. Being sealed changes the way you move through the world. You carry calm into chaos, clarity into confusion, courage into fear. Environments respond to your arrival without you speaking a word. You have become a living sanctuary wherever you go. Heaven goes. This is what it means to be marked. You no longer visit sacred space, you are sacred space. The seal is also a call to remembrance. It binds your heart to every promise ever spoken over you. When doubt tries to return, the seal reminds you. When discouragement whispers, the seal answers louder. It is heaven's guarantee that your story will not end in defeat. Even if circumstances shake, destiny remains secured. The seal holds what you cannot. In this new identity, humility deepens. The more you sense heaven's trust, the more you realize its cost. You no longer walk as one trying to impress. You walk as one entrusted. Every word you speak, every action you take, carries hecho. The sealed live differently, not out of fear, but out of awareness. They understand that their steps write scripture in motion. The seal also awakens memory in the soul, a remembering of the covenant made long before birth. You start recalling purpose not as discovery, but as recognition. What you are stepping into feels strangely familiar, because your spirit knew it before your mind did. This recognition dissolves anxiety. You stop chasing destiny because you realize you are standing inside it. For the sealed, favor flows differently. It's no longer sporadic, it's sustained. Opportunities do not require manipulation, they manifest naturally. The sealed do not hustle, they harmonize. They attract what belongs, repel what doesn't. The mark acts like a magnet for alignment. You'll see how people, places, and provisions appear at the exact moment they're needed. Not a second too soon or too late. But the sealing is not only personal, it's generational. The light you now carry becomes inheritance for those who follow. Your obedience plants seeds that will bloom in descendants you'll never meet. Every prayer, every act of integrity, every hidden yes has written legacy into eternity's ledger. The seal confirms it. Your lineage is protected by purpose. As this realization settles, gratitude becomes overwhelming. You begin to see every hardship differently. What once felt cruel now glows with context. You understand now that nothing was wasted. Even betrayal served building. Even silence taught strength. The fire that once frightened you was the furnace that purified you for this sealing. Everything led here. And as the seal completes its descent upon your spirit, a deep peace settles in. The kind that doesn't need evidence. The kind that endures every storm. The kind that knows heaven keeps its promises even when earth forgets. You breathe differently now, slowly, intentionally, with the awareness that every inhale carries eternity's breath. The sealed do not live loudly, they live luminously. You'll walk through ordinary days, carrying extraordinary stillness. Your laughter will heal. Your tears will intercede. Your presence will teach. The mark is invisible to the world, but unmistakable in the spirit. Even darkness will recognize it and retreat. This is what you were always being prepared for, not fame, not fortune, but fullness, the completion of the circle, the convergence of heaven and humanity within your being. You are both clay and flame, vessel and vision, servant and son. You have become what you were created to be, a reflection of the one who called you chosen one. You've reached the end of this divine unfolding, but truly, there are no endings in heaven, only beginnings written in softer ink. What you've read, what you've felt, what has stirred in your chest, is not just story, it is summons. This message was never about information, it was about transformation. The words were never mine, they were echoes of what heaven has been whispering to you all along. You are marked, you are seen, you are sent. You have walked through awakening, refining, revelation, alignment, and sealing. You've seen the story of your spirit unfold, one sacred section at a time. And now heaven looks upon you and says, it is time to rise quietly, time to walk in peace, time to let your light heal what words cannot. The world you are returning to after reading this will not look the same, because you are not the same. You carry awareness now, authority now, clarity now. You have become what this message has been describing since the beginning, one of the chosen ones. Sealed not with ink, but with presence. And if this journey has touched you, if something inside you feels newly alive, newly awakened, then help the message flow. Every time you like, share, or comment, you extend this current of light to someone still wandering in their night. The small act of interaction is not about algorithms, it's about alignment. It's about joining heaven in saying, let there be light. End. Write in the comments what resonated most. One line, one truth, one heartbeat. Let your testimony become part of the river that keeps flowing through others. Someone will read your words and feel the same flame ignite in them. That is how revival travels heart to heart, sentence to soul. And if you feel led, subscribe, not to follow a channel, but to stay connected to the current. These words are not one-time visits, they are ongoing wells. Each new message is another wave of heaven calling you deeper into your purpose. So breathe. Luminous Soul. You have come full circle. You are seen by heaven, surrounded by grace, sealed with peace. The journey continues, but now, you walk as one who knows who they are. You are chosen. You are ready. You are loved.